And this is,
Good morning. My name is Ibrahim Adeniro.
and we are your hosts for today. So welcome everybody. Please smile to the person next to you. We apologize for starting late. It's 9:20 a.m. and we are going to start with the opening prayer. But before then, we are looking forward to having a wonderful time today. So, in anticipation, you're going to clap to the level of your anticipation. So, are we ready? Are we ready? Okay, so let's just put our hands together for Jesus.
All right. So I guess we can just go right into it. While I call on the Deputy HOD of the Covenant Capital for the opening prayer, Mrs. Aimede. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Please could you rise on our feet as we just say a brief opening prayer? In Jesus' name, our Heavenly Father, we give you thanks. We appreciate you. We thank you for another opportunity, O God, to be alive and to be present even at this time. We know it not because of our might or our power, but by your mercy, O Father. We appreciate you, Father. We return all glory into your name. Father, we commit this program into your hands. So, Father, we ask you open our eyes to see, our ears, O God, that the various speakers, even as they speak forth as your oracle, O God, that each and every one of us here will never leave here the same. We thank you for the fresh ideas, O God, you've given unto us, the new direction we will take, O God. And for those, O God, who will be starting up, O God, new ventures, O Father, thank you for the new ideas. Thank you for the wherewithal that you've granted each and every one of us. And although at the end of today's program, we shall have every cause to glorify your name. We thank you for the online viewers also. Father, Lord, every single one, O God, will live here blessed. And above all, your name will be glorified. We open today, Father, in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, and in the name of the Holy Spirit. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen. Thank you so much. Please have your seat.
Thank you very much to our assistant HOD. She's fantastic. So the next thing on the line is the keynote. No? The next thing on the line is the opening remarks by the Covenant Capital HOD. And I'll tell you, it has been amazing. And for us to have this initiative and for it to be put together, it's a fantastic thing. I'm actually hopeful for today. And we would just like to hear from him. So we would like to invite the HOD of the Covenant Capital, Mr. Obafemi Darabidon. Please, let's put our hands together for him.
Thank you. Thank you, Derry. Right. Good morning, everyone. We're happy to have you here again. This time last year, we hosted an Agribusiness conference, and it was a massive success. And we felt compelled to further the conversation and the engagement with stakeholders within the industry. So I want to formally welcome you to Agribusiness Conference 2022, powered by the Covenant Nation. And the Covenant Capital is the entrepreneurial arm of the Covenant Nation. We support businesses and business owners through different initiatives under the umbrella of the Covenant Capital, and that's has to do with business advisory services, financial advisory services. We also do funding services, and also we run a business school called the Covenant Capital Business School. And all of these initiatives are totally powered by volunteers who, out of their industry experiences and expertise, they give back to people within the church and also outside of the church. So Covenant Capital is bringing this initiative as a conference in order for us to explore the opportunities, insights within this industry so that we can maximize it appropriately. So I want to formally welcome you once again. My name is Obafemi. So let's just take a cue as to why this conference is very important to all of us. We believe agriculture is one sector that resonates with everybody. And because it produces vital and critical resources. Talk of food, talk of raw materials for most of the things we wear, clothing, even raw materials for housing, and a whole lot more. So we feel that this sector is a sector that needs to be put on the front burner. As of today in Nigeria, looking at it nationally, this sector contributes less than 30% to the gross domestic product that this country is having at the moment. But incidentally, this sector is actually the largest employer of labor in this country as we speak, looking at the statistics, because we have a lot of smallholder farmers who are trying to put their hands, to till the ground in order for us to have food. Or even at that, we still have the challenges that are bedeviling the sector, and that goes from the farmer-herder conflicts, that goes to the insurgencies that we're experiencing all across the northern regions of this country. That goes to also the rural-urban migration, that youths are leaving the rural areas in droves, seeking for greener pastures in the urban centers, and also the prospect of making a better, life in the digital space. So a lot of our teeming youth population have actually looked away from agriculture, and we are all chasing digital skills in order to have better, let's say, employment opportunities. So we feel that a whole lot of challenges in this sector that are stifling the growth needs to be addressed. And also for people who are ambitious, the promises are enormous. I mean, in the next couple of years, we believe that there is going to be a major focus on Africa to power food across the globe. As of today, we are majorly importers of the same things that we can produce. Because if you look at it, I mean, you want to say that why will a war between Russia and Ukraine affect us so much that it has really driven up the prices of grains and some other commodities that come from that part of the world? It's because we are not producing them locally. And if we look inwards, we see, I was watching TV some couple of days back, and I saw a discussion, and this said politician was making bold to say that Nigeria has one of the best in terms of quality of wheat and millet. But we are not exploiting that opportunity. This would have been an opportunity right now, since there are food shortages or grain shortages around the world because of the conflict between two countries. So we believe that this conference will address these major areas, and we have carefully selected our guest speakers from our keynote to the members of the panels that will be discussing different areas, and also for people who are not planning to go into agriculture but looking for opportunities to become stakeholders, either by investment or starting businesses or partnerships. We also believe that our keynote speakers will be able to address the major areas as these are concerned. The panel sessions will afford us the opportunity to ask direct questions from our keynote speakers, and we get the direct answers. And we believe that by the time we leave this conference, a lot of questions would have been answered and would have been powered and repositioned to take advantage of the opportunities within this sector. Once again, I want to welcome us to Agribusiness 2022, holding live at Lekki of the Covenant, Lekki Temple of the Covenant Nation. So if you're watching us online, we also want to use this opportunity to welcome you to the conference. And I want to wish us a happy listening and a productive outing. It's worth your time. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Ichudi. Okay. I'm so expectant, and agriculture cannot just be overemphasized. And Ichudi did justice to his address, his welcome address, because in the word of George Washington, agriculture is the most useful and most noble employment of man. That means in whatever sector, whatever industry you're working in, agric is very, very important. Very soon we'll be inviting our keynote speakers, and we'd like you to tell your neighbor your expectations from this conference. And you won't just tell your neighbor in terms of, oh, I'm expecting investment opportunities, or I'm expecting to learn the business opportunity in agric. You're going to spell what you want to learn from this conference to your neighbor. So for instance, I want to learn how agric affects health and why we have to eat good food. So I'll spell GOODFOOD. So that's what I'm learning from this conference, and you should be able to interpret. So can we do that? Can we go ahead and do that? Okay, so what's picked what their neighbor wants to learn? All right, thank you very much. So it's time to invite our keynote speaker, and I am quite excited. And Ibrahim would read the profile of our keynote speaker.
All right, thank you, Darren. So let's just listen to the profile of our keynote speaker. Mrs. Ndidi Okonkwo Woneli is an expert on social innovation, agriculture and nutrition, entrepreneurship, youth development. She has over 25 years of international development experience and is a recognized social entrepreneur, author, public speaker, and consultant. Mrs. Ndidi started her career as a management consultant with the McKinsey & Company, working in Chicago, New York, and Johannesburg. She returned to Nigeria in 2000 to serve as the pioneer executive director of FATE Foundation, supporting young entrepreneurs to start and scale their businesses. In 2002, she established Leap Africa to inspire, empower, and equip a new cadre of principled, disciplined, and dynamic young leaders in Africa. In the same year, she established NIA to support female university students in Nigeria to achieve their highest potential. Over the past 14 years, Mrs. Ndidi has focused exclusively on transforming the African agriculture and nutrition landscape. Mrs. Ndidi serves on the board of the Rockefeller Foundation, the Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition, AGRA, Nigerian Breweries PLC, Godre Consumer Products Limited, India, the Young Global Leaders of the World Economic Forum, Royal DSM Sustainability Board, Netherlands, and the African Philanthropy Forum. She previously served on the boards of Nestle Nigeria PLC, Fairfax Africa, the World Vegetable Center, and Cornerstone Insurance PLC. Mrs. Ndidi is the author of Social Innovation in Africa, a practical guide for scaling impact and food entrepreneurs in Africa, scaling resilient agricultural businesses. Both published by Routledge, she is also the author of Working for God in the Marketplace. Mrs. Ndidi holds an MBA from the Harvard Business School and an undergraduate degree with honors from the Wharton School of Government at the Harvard Kennedy School, an Eisenhower Fellow, an Aspen Institute New Voices Fellow, and the McConnell Visiting Scholar at the Max Bell School of Public Policy at McGill University.
I am personally inspired. Please, can we put our hands together as we welcome Mrs. Ndidi Woneli.
Good morning. Thank you so much. Thank you to those in the hall. I know what it is to wake up on a Saturday morning after a busy week and come and spend the morning with us. So we're really grateful for your presence. This is my church. Usually I'm sitting in the back so that actually, since they built this new church, I haven't been on the stage. So congratulations to the entire team behind this, and well done. I'm here with my daughter. Where is she? So I thank her for being part of my community this morning and for making the time to be here as well. Where is my daughter? Did she leave the hall? Okay. All right. So I have a presentation, and we'll try to make it interactive so that we can get through it quickly. Okay, so I've been asked to talk about the investment opportunities in the agribusiness landscape. I also have two colleagues here. Please, Ola, is anyone else here or just you? Okay, Ola is here from Nourishing Africa, and please find him before you go, because if you're not on the Nourishing Africa platform, how many of you are already on the Nourishing Africa platform? Oh, we have a few people. The rest of you, you have to join the Nourishing Africa platform today, because that's where you get a lot of support, resources. All of it is for free to help you find funding, find all the things you need to grow your business. Thank you, Ola, for coming. So basically, I just want to start to talk about the state of the nation and my experiences in the agribusiness landscape, and then we'll be talking about opportunities for investment and lessons and insights for scaling your business. So all of us know that Nigeria is naturally endowed for agricultural excellence. I don't need to tell you. If you live where I live, Lekki Phase 1, which is actually reclaimed land, every day I wake up and I see a new pawpaw plant growing. I'm like, this is sand, and somebody dropped a pawpaw seed on the way to throw away the garbage, and it's grown on its own. We're naturally endowed for agricultural excellence. 22% of our GDP is from agriculture, and we're the number one producer of cassava and yam in the world, the second top producer of ginger. We have a lot of arable land, and we have 12 million smallholder farmers in this sector. We also have great diversity of value chains. In every state in Nigeria, there's a value chain that could make a lot of money for you. But the question is, why aren't we maximizing these opportunities? And when we think about the value chain, and some of you might say, what is a value chain? We think about opportunities from farm to fork. Why the hall is not full is that most people think of agriculture and they think of farming. They don't think of food. They don't think of their clothes. They don't think about their chair, the paint on their wall. There's nothing that you kind of use on a daily basis that doesn't come from the land, including the furniture, including the carpets. So if I had said, come and find out how you can make millions from food, maybe you would have had a full hall. But so when we think about agriculture now, we think about the food ecosystem, right? From farm to fork. Please go to the next slide. I said you have to be very quick in going along with me. So on one side, we have inputs, right? That's the seeds, the fertilizer, the soil protection products. There's lots of money in this area, lots of money, but there are also lots of challenges. Then you have production, you have storage, you have logistics, trucks, storage facilities. Then you have processing, and then you have marketing. And now in Nigeria, we have a lot of chefs, celebrity chefs. Who knows any celebrity chefs? They are making money. They are making money because now people care about what goes into their body. The MC said she's concerned about food and good food because food is medicine, right? So now we're thinking about what we eat and how it affects our body. And many times people don't go to the hospital. If they're sick, they can eat the right amount of food and they can get better. So there's so many, you need to actually just go quickly through the slides. Otherwise, we'll be here for the whole day. So there are many challenges around each of these aspects of our bottleneck. And in our country, where there are challenges, there are opportunities. Where there are challenges, there are opportunities. Tell your neighbor, where there are challenges, there are opportunities. So let's go into some of these challenges. The first one is that we've still been using manual labor and manual inputs to grow our food. When I say whose father was a farmer here, how many of you have parents who were farmers? Most people are not proud to say their parents were farmers. I was just talking to Mogaji about how we go to universities and we ask students, how many of your parents were farmers? Nobody wants to raise their hand. It's like, I'm ashamed that my father was a farmer or my mother was a farmer. But you go to other parts of the world, people are proud to say their parents were farmers. Why is there a shame associated with farming? The drudgery, the concept, we equate farming with poverty, right? In our mind. Not knowing that farmers all over the world are some of the richest people in the world. That in many parts of the world, they actually don't even use hoe and cutlass. They use tractors. They actually sit in their control room and they're automated, fully automated services. Do you understand? That they measure, that the science of what to use on your crop and when to grow your crop is a science. But it's because of how we're still cultivating that picture of a woman with a cutlass, a hoe. Or that one extension worker for 8,000 farmers, right? Or that only 1 to 4% of our land is irrigated. So that means that when there's no rainfall, we can't grow crops. Yesterday I was on a call for seeds. Why is it that we only have corn now? I love corn, roasted corn. All of you are excited to be eating roasted corn. In a few months, there will be no roasted corn. Is that a shame? Or that we only have mango. How many of you like mango? But how many months of the year do we have mango? It's shameful. Why can't we have mango all year round? We're eating Ghanaian mango right now in Nigeria because they figured out in parts of Ghana how to grow mango all year round. Now, the other issue is, yes, even when we're growing food, and let's say we've improved the productivity, we're using the right seeds, we're using the right fertilizer, what's happening? We're wasting the food. 40 to 60% of our fruits and vegetables go to waste. 20 to 30% of our grains go to waste. Even our yam, the yam that is so expensive right now at 3,000 naira a tuber, right? Before the new yam starts coming out, goes to waste. Because the way we're carrying it from Benue State to here, the way it's shaking on the road, the heat, because the yam is packed on top of the other, we're still packing yam that way. We lose so much of our yam. So the same is, and then beyond that, there's limited processing. How many people do you know process food? People still sell fresh food. Only 10% of our dairy is processed. Only 10% of our cassava is processed. 25% of our rice is processed. So there's not enough processing going on. And we are still dependent on imports. We import so much of the food we consume. If we go to supermarkets, even as expensive as the exchange rate, as terrible as the exchange rate is, we're still importing lots of the food we consume. And many of the people who say they're processing are simply repackaging food. So there's a challenge, right, around this. And we really have to address it. There are also external shocks. Climate change is a huge shock, but that's also an opportunity. We have flooding, we have droughts. And so when we think about those problems, there are opportunities. We have insecurity in our farm. That creates opportunities. Because guess what? There are security companies that we pay to go and tell us what's happening in the farm. Right? That's an opportunity in the agribusiness value chain. There's also a big challenge around talent. Many of us can't find staff. There are opportunities to train people for these opportunities. So wherever there are challenges, there are opportunities. And this is what drove me into the agribusiness landscape. And I wear a number of hats in this landscape. One of them is that I'm the co-founder of a food company called Ace Foods. How many of you have heard of Ace Foods? Now, why did we start Ace Foods? We started Ace Foods because I was actually doing a study understanding what is going on in this country, and I learned that 40 to 60% of our fruits and vegetables go to waste, and that made me angry. And I'd go to the supermarkets and I'll see imported spices when I know we have the best spices in the world. And I said, what can we do to address this challenge? So we started a food company, and we weren't going to start with spices, though. Our first product that we won a business plan competition for was jams. I'm sure some of you have heard me tell this story. I like mango jam, pawpaw jam, agbalumo jam, but guess what? Many Nigerians don't know what jam is. They don't eat jam. So I was creating a product for myself and my friends, and when we now try to introduce it to the Nigerian market, people are like, we want red jam. Red jam is what? It's supposed to be strawberry jam. Where am I going to get strawberries? Kojos. Are there enough strawberries to make jam? No. So it's very clear to us that that was not a viable business option. Even though we got a NAFDAC number for a mixed fruit jam, we had to give up that idea. So the first thing is you have to understand what the market wants, right? So Ace Foods today has a factory in Sangota. It's doing really well. We thank God. We have a great team that runs it. I don't run it day to day anymore. And we have about 150 full-time employees. We have a lot of contract workers, and we source from 10,000 farmers. And the team is mostly women. 90% of our factory is women. And most of them are Yoruba women. You can imagine when I go to visit, I can't even speak to them. Right? When we went to the Christmas party, they had to have a translator. Because when you have primary production, a lot of people doing sorting, grinding. Do you understand? That's their first job. We give health insurance, we give a warm meal. And when I think about the impact we've had through ACE, from the 10,000 farmers to the workers, to the distributors, to those who eat our products, it warms my heart. Right? And right now, our products are one of the most affordable in the market and high quality because we're sourcing locally. Beyond ACE Foods, we started a company called Sahel Consulting. And Sahel Consulting is focused on food and agriculture and transforming the food and agricultural landscape across Africa. And our head office is now in Abuja. We have staff in Adamawa, Kano, Kaduna, Plateau, and then we work across West Africa. And why did we start this company? Because we realized in Nigeria, there's so many international consulting firms doing the work Nigerians should be doing. So any of you who are good in consulting, there are opportunities, right? If you can write a business plan, you can do market entry studies, there are opportunities. Because people are coming into this country. Just early on Monday, another company is coming into Nigeria to do the work we should be doing. What are they doing? They're using waste, all types of waste to make fertilizer. They started with human waste. Converting human waste from toilets to fertilizer. Now they're using crop waste, all sorts of waste. They're going to dump sites and they're getting waste. And they are coming here to build a multi-million-dollar fertilizer company using waste. And we're sitting here, other people are coming into our country to create opportunities, to create jobs, and to make money. Right? And that's a challenge. So what we do everything from advisory services to market entry to ecosystem solutions to launching businesses. And we've launched a number of businesses in the seed sector, Nourishing Africa. And that's the one I just mentioned. Ola is here from Nourishing Africa. And what is Nourishing Africa? It's envisaged as a home for 1 million entrepreneurs that will transform the food and agriculture landscape. And I started Nourishing Africa because I would go to a place like Ethiopia. And I asked them, I want to do research on cocoa. Or coffee. Who else is doing coffee? I don't know. You don't know anybody else. So you're working in isolation. I found that many entrepreneurs didn't know each other. They were struggling to scale. They were struggling to find financing. People will email me and say, I want to go into cassava in Nigeria. Where can I get funding? Can you give me data on the cassava industry? And I would be sending data to everybody and decided no. Come to one place where you can get data, funding, training, supports, linkages, market linkage, everything. Come to one place. So it's envisaged as a Facebook, LinkedIn, and DevX for food and ag entrepreneurs in Africa. And now we have entrepreneurs in 37 African countries on this portal. And every day we get messages from people who say, I want to buy sesame from Nigeria. Can you send me some names of entrepreneurs so I can buy from? Do you understand? I want to buy soya beans. Can you send me entrepreneurs? And this is serving as an opportunity for us to send information, to connect people, to help people grow their markets, and to help people get funding. Because every week, if you sign up for a mailing list, every week you get funding opportunities that you can apply for. You don't have to look for it. It's there. You know, the same people keep on getting funding opportunities because they know where to go. And if you're not on Nourishing Africa, you're missing out on the opportunity to grow your business, to expand your business. So that's my background and what led me into this sector, right? So what are some opportunities? What are some opportunities? I posted this picture on Instagram earlier this week. I don't know how many of you follow me on Instagram. This is not an invitation to follow me, but I posted this picture. And I said, where is this market? Does anybody know, apart from the person who follows me on Instagram? Those who don't follow me, where is this market? Huh? Where? Ketu. This was not a markets day where Thursday where they cleaned the market. This was a regular markets day. And I took this picture this week. This is a picture from Lekki Market, Legushi. Now, if you go to Legushi Market, there's a arts and crafts market. I bought a shop there 20 years ago. I don't even want to tell you that I bought the shop maybe for 250,000. If I sell it today, it's still 250,000 in that same market. But this is the market that used to have the best fruits and vegetables. I used to go there to buy fruits and vegetables. And this is how it looked this week. And I was so sad. I asked a few people. There were 3 people selling. I said, where? And they recognized me. I said, where are all my customers? They said, COVID. Then what is happening in Nigeria? Right? This is scary. And this made me scared. And that's why I'm happy we at least have some people in the room, because all of us have to fix this problem. Do you understand? It is a personal responsibility. We have to fix this problem. I was the chair of the Policy Commission on Food and Agriculture Investment Opportunities. And this is small fund, so I'll read it out to you. The first thing we said is that we have to increase the productivity and output of our priority value chains. What does it mean to increase the productivity? Right now, our farmers generate 1/3 of what the rest of the world generates. So if a farmer in India is planting or a farmer in Thailand is planting, a Nigerian farmer will generate 1/3. So we have to make it 3 times more productive, right? So that means we need better seeds, better soils, better soil health, better soil protection. We need climate resilience strategies throughout, and we need technology. We can't grow how we used to grow. So all of those are investment opportunities. What does it take to what? Increase. Right now, Nigerians consume like 1/10 of what other parts of the world consume when it comes to poultry, dairy, and fish. That means we're not getting enough nutrients. Our children are not getting enough nutrients. And when our children are malnourished, what does it affect? The brain. When they say people don't want to go to school in the north, 1 out of every 2 children in the north is malnourished. 1 out of every 2. In fact, in parts of northern Nigeria, 60% are stunted. 60% are stunted. The third goal was to reduce post-harvest losses. That means that if you're not interested in processing and production, you don't want to go to the farm. Me, I don't want to go to the farm. Then what do? You process. That means everything we grow, we can process. I talked about corn. Why do we have canned corn from Thailand and Indonesia and China? Why can't we have canned corn from Nigeria? Right? How many of you like sweet corn? And we're buying sweet corn from other parts of the world? That's why somebody as crazy as Mira Mehta could go and start a farm where she's processing, and a production facility where she's processing tomatoes. Her company is called Tomato Jaws. Someone left America. I say she's the strongest, most tenacious person I know, because it's taken her almost 10 years. But now she has a fully functional tomato processing company in Kaduna. And she's not even Nigerian. She started off in Nasarawa, and then she moved to Kaduna. She's processing tomatoes. How many of you see tomatoes when they're in season? How cheap? When they're out of season, how expensive are they? With yam, the same thing. Yam, when it's in season, is 300 naira. When it's out of season, 3,000 naira. And it's taken an Indian company, Simply, Primlax, to come here making frozen yam chips for us. How many of you know Primlax? Simply. They're making yam chips in Nigeria. They're making sweet potato chips. They're making frozen sweet potato. They're exporting this to diaspora populations all over. And it took them to come in here and do it. I love Ravi and his brother, and they're doing amazing things. But it challenges me when I see innovation coming from outsiders in our own context. It challenges me because it means, are we blind? Don't we see? Why are they doing it and we can't? Number 4, promote local sourcing. We have to add value. We have to make sure our food is safe. That's a business opportunity. For those of you who studied microbiology, food technology, food safety is a business opportunity. We don't have enough labs that are certified globally. People still have to take some of their products to Ghana to get the certifications they need to export. Number 5, we have to ensure well-developed and integrated rural communities. Each of our rural communities need infrastructure. We pay people to do solar-powered boreholes in rural communities. That's an opportunity, right? Rural development, banking for rural communities, learning for rural communities, support for rural communities, education for rural communities. We need security. Our agriculture sector will not take off if we don't have security, and that's a business opportunity. To get a security company now, to tell you intelligence, I know how much we pay our security companies, retainers, every month, just to tell us what's going on and whether it's safe to go to this place or that place. We need equity, we need capacity building, we need inclusion of women, we need youth participation, and I'm sure my brother will talk about it, and then we need funding. And all of you who are in finance and who can provide finance and insurance and microinsurance, there are business opportunities for you. So these are examples of business opportunities, and let's move on quickly. My time is almost up. And I've not even gone halfway. So I'll go into a few value chains. Yam is a humongous opportunity. I say yam a lot because yam is a cultural product, but it's also highly profitable. The margins in yam are really high. And there's a yam expert here, so I won't even spend time talking about yam. There are huge opportunities in dairy. Huge opportunities in dairy. Not only artificial insemination for cows, if you're a vet doctor, but lots of opportunities around dairy. There are huge opportunities when it comes to the cocoa value chain. There are huge opportunities across the board, from farm to fork. Agribusiness has, there are lots of, can you put on the plate that just has the range of opportunities? Have we lost the slides? Okay, keep going. Yep, you have to catch up with me. So there are lots of opportunities from farm to fork, lots. Across the board, there are opportunities. So what are some lessons and insights as I begin to round up? There are lots of lessons and insights. I've already moved to critical realities and promising trends. Okay, so there are lots of opportunities and there are also promising trends. And I just want to rush through what it will take to succeed in this sector. So I've written a book called Food Entrepreneurs in Agriculture, Scaling Resilient Agriculture Businesses, which is a real practical how-to guide on how to start and build a successful business in this sector. Can we go on? But the first thing you have to ask yourself is, what is your vision? What is your passion? Don't enter this sector because you have no other thing to do. Enter this sector because you actually care about it. I always tell people this is not a glamorous sector. It's not a glamorous sector. You understand? It's a sector where you come in because you feel God has called you to enter this sector. You feel like God has said, this is a place you should be. I almost felt like, Joseph in the Bible, where you're called to say, help a continent store up because there's going to be famine. Do you understand? You have to feel called by God to enter this sector. And you have to have a clear vision and a passion for what you're going to do in that sector. Some people see things, right? I see hungry children. Some people they can come in here and tell you who's wearing Gucci shirts and who's carrying a Prada bag. Right? I can't see it. I see hungry children. What do you see? What is God telling you about this country at a time such as this? And when you see that, then you have to look at the 6 components of a business model that scale. And this is in my book, and I'll just walk you through it. The first is that your intervention has to be demand-driven with measurable value addition. It has to be what? Demand-driven with measurable value addition. People are like, it's Saturday morning, and she's trying to teach us a lecture. Hey, Ndidi. But if there's nothing else you're going to take from this, take this out. It means that somebody has to want what you're offering. Not you, not a few of your friends, or people who don't want to tell you the truth. Enough people have to want it, and they have to be willing to pay for it. Right? And I tell people right now, anything you go into the supermarket and you say, I can't afford this, it means many other people can't afford it. And it means there's an alternative that you can create. Right? There has to be an alternative. The second is that it has to be low cost. It has to be low cost because right now our consumers are extremely price sensitive. We have to leverage technology and innovation. Any intervention you've created today that does not leverage technology and innovation is a waste. Okay? It has to shape the ecosystem, which means the policy environment has to be right for your intervention. It has to be cost efficient with clear systems and structures. You have to have simple and compelling branding, and you have to build resilience into your DNA. You know what it means to build resilience? There's COVID-19, that was one shock. People had to shut down. What other shocks do we have? Climate change is another shock. Devaluation of the currency, huge shock. Somebody was saying it's going to 1,000. That's a shock. What are we going to do to make sure that our business is resilient? That we're not building a business that is a copycat. And I want to talk about this copycat. When we first started doing spices, we went to the GTB Food Fair. We're the only company. The next year, there were 10 companies doing spices. Is it only spices that there's an opportunity? There are opportunities everywhere. Everywhere. In every value chain. I could talk about the size of every value chain and the opportunities, but I want you to go to Nourishing Africa and download the documents there. To say, in every value chain, even lemongrass, there's an opportunity. Right? Is there an opportunity in something like lemongrass? How many of you know lemongrass? There's an opportunity. Cocoyam, huge opportunity. This ube, I love ube. You know ube, the pear? I don't know what the Yoruba name is for it. We call it ube in Igbo. I got calls from America. Can you send us ube? People are willing to pay a premium. So I said, how will I store it? It will spoil between now and here in America. They said, you have to find a way. Can you pull it in coolers? Can somebody figure that out? How do we store ube? That's an innovation. Etc., etc. Technology. There's so many technologies, so many opportunities for scaling. We're going to have to rush through each of the slides because we're out of time. There's technology that you can leverage for driving agriculture transformation. And these technologies are available and we need them here. There are lots of opportunities ensuring that we have talents for the sector. And I won't spend time on it, but in my book I have a whole chapter on talent for the sector because we can't grow this sector if you don't have staff. You can't be the only one working in your company, you need staff. Let's continue. We also need branding, and we need people to help us tell our stories. How many of you are good storytellers? There's a huge opportunity for branding in our food sector. Most of our food does not look attractive to the rest of the world because it's not well packaged. We don't know how to tell our stories, right? We need help from the branding community, people who are interested in coming into the food sector to make our food look attractive. We need help with financing, and there's a secret for you. There's more money in this sector than people who can absorb the money. Just yesterday, I got a call from a San Francisco-based company. They want to give grants to Nigerian entrepreneurs. Can I send them 30 organizations that will help them find the entrepreneurs to give the money to? There's so much money for this sector, but many of you don't apply, or you don't know how to package yourself when you're applying. You need to take the right courses, and Nourishing Africa has some online courses to help you prepare for that. But you have to have integrity. Please don't be the person who collects $12,000 from this one, $1 million from this one, and then you go and buy a car, a house, and we're looking for you. And they say next time they won't give a Nigerian because some Nigerian bought a house and a car. Right? Please don't be one of those people. Please hurry up because we're out of time. You also have to shape the ecosystem. You have to make sure that if you get into an industry, you shape the policy for that industry. You shape what determines what is right in that industry. When we started in Ace Foods, we realized there was no policy at SON for ginger. You understand? What is the right microbial load for ginger? What is the right moisture content for ginger? We had to go a hungry child. How many of you know that? You go all over the world. I left here when I was 16 to first go to university, and people would tell me, where are you from? I'll say Nigeria. They say, oh, my mom used to tell me, finish your dinner, there are starving children in Biafra. Or finish your dinner, there are starving children in Ethiopia or in Sudan. Right? And still today, there are starving children in northern Nigeria. Boko Haram, that's what they think of. And then when they think of poverty, they think of a female farmer from Africa. This is a picture that has followed us around the world. Yet, God has blessed us with everything we need to feed ourselves and to feed the world. So this picture makes me angry. And this is what propels me in this sector. This is what gets me. Can we go to the next slide? This is what gets me to try to do what I'm doing. The second thing that makes me angry is the widespread ignorance about the diversity and richness of food from Africa. Most people think we don't have any food. If you look at that map of food from all over the world, can you see where Africa is? It's almost invisible. When they do the global rankings of food, we're ranked the lowest. They rank all of the 54 countries together and they rank us the lowest. Meanwhile, if you look at how our food has spread around the world, we have contributed food all over the world. All over the world. In fact, the world benefits from us every single day. And the example I love to tell is okra. How many of you know okra? How many of you have heard of okra? Okay, how many of you know that okra was an Igbo word? I'm Igbo, and I didn't know that okra was an Igbo word. It was first found in the colony of Virginia in 1657. It was taken by slaves to America. And that's why if you see seafood okra and you see gumbo eaten in New Orleans, it's almost identical. Just that ours is better. Theirs is a bit watered down. That is an example. Okay, so how many of you know that Coca-Cola was made with cola nuts from West Africa? That the recipe for Coca-Cola, that's why it's called Coca-Cola. Did you know that? Every time you say Coke, give me Coca-Cola. Did you know cola nut is your cola nut that they use to make it? Most of us don't know. So I started a new organization last year called Changing Narratives Africa, my latest startup, to get our food on global shelves. Can we please go quickly? My time is off. And we actually have started telling stories. We're starting telling positive stories. We're saying, you're crazy for coffee, you like coffee? Embrace its roots. Coffee was born in Ethiopia. 18 countries in Africa produce coffee. Some of the best coffee in the world is from Africa. Can you go forward, please? Or that, you like chocolates? 70% of the world's chocolates is from just 2 countries. Which countries? Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana. 70%. So nobody eats a chocolate bar in the world without them having Africa to thank for it. And yet, we're still exporting cocoa beans. We have some amazing chocolatiers in Nigeria even who make wonderful chocolates. But we need more. We need to stop exporting cocoa beans and we need to start exporting chocolate powder, chocolate syrup, and chocolates. High-end chocolate. Why are the Swiss known for chocolate? Not one cocoa tree grows in Switzerland. They've perfected the art of making what? High-end chocolates. The chocolate industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And yet, these countries, Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, their GDP cannot compete with GDP of Switzerland, an entire country. And the same, I just talked about cola nuts. I've told people, if you've had a Coke today or a coffee today, you have Africa to thank for it. That makes me proud. But we have to change our own mindsets. We have to believe that we have something the world needs. It's not just oil. The world needs our food. The world needs our cooking methods. In fact, Iru, which is from your part of Nigeria, so many chefs have called me to talk about Iru. And I'm like, wow, global chefs. Why are they interested in Iru? You know? Does anybody know? Because Iru is fantastic for gut health. You know what gut health is? So many people have problems digesting their food. And Iru is a natural medicine for digesting food. And there's money in Iru. But all of us look at Iru and they say it's dirty. It's slimy. In fact, when The Economist did an article on Iru, they showed one woman sitting with her feet inside the Iru in front of a hut. And I was so angry about that picture. So this quote inspires me. It says, if I tell you my dream, you might forget it. If I act on my dream, perhaps you'll remember it. But if I involve you, it becomes your dream too. And I want to involve you in my dream. So what is my dream? My vision. My vision is that Nigerian jollof will become more popular than Japanese sushi. That Japanese sushi is ranked number 1 in the world. Right? And it took 20 years for them to get it there. Eating raw fish is now number 1 in the world. And people pay a premium for it. Senegalese fonio will displace quinoa. Ethiopian teff will displace white flour. And our vision is that our million entrepreneurs will create this $1 trillion industry. And that together will create wealth and jobs for each other. There's an Igbo proverb that says, Mbelede kaja madike. Disasters help to sift out the resilient, the resourceful, and the brave. It's a difficult time in Nigeria. Nobody will deny that. But this is a time for people who are serious about transformation and about wealth creation to create businesses that will survive and thrive. This is a time when people are coming to Nigeria to enter our food industry. Many of us want to leave. This is a time on a daily basis where international organizations are saying they want to enter Nigeria, and many of us are trying to leave the country. So if you are resourceful, if you're resilient, and if you're brave, this is the time to enter the food sector. And finally, this is the picture we want you to think about when you think about Nigeria. Not a hungry child, not an empty market, but these beautiful children with great futures who go and live full and meaningful lives because they have well-nourished plates every morning, they're healthy, they're strong, and they go on to live full and meaningful lives. Together, we can create this Nigeria. Together, we can invest in our food sector and we can create wealth. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day.
Wow. Nourishing Africa, changing narrative Africa. Who is inspired? Please let's give a befitting round of applause to our keynote speaker.
We can surely do more than that. I mean, that was inspiring. And quickly, just to point out some of the important things she said, I mean, there's a whole lot of opportunities in agriculture, and we've not even started tapping into it. I thought you had one line that you actually liked.
I love that line. She said, there's more money in this sector than the people that want to absorb it. I like money, so there's more money. If there's anything you want to pick up from this keynote address, there's more money in this sector than the people that are ready to absorb it. So when you want to ask yourself any question, am I ready to tap into the opportunities? And for the Jakpa community, she said that if you're resilient, if you're strong, it's time to stay. But if you want to go, it's fine. But when you are staying, are you resilient? Are you strong? Are you ready to take advantage of the opportunities in the agri sector? Because food, agriculture is the most noble profession, employment of any man, according to George Washington.
And talking about opportunities, so it's not, there's no other better time than to introduce our next event, which is a panel discussion on opportunities in agri value chain. And I'll just quickly introduce the moderator for that session. And the moderator will introduce the speakers. So I would like to call on Mr. Kayode Akimbinu of Covenant Capital.
Okay, please let's show some excitement for our first panel session. Thank you, everybody. We hope you're enjoying yourself. Welcome, Mr. Kayode.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Very excited to be here. I'm sure you're all very excited to be here. So, we're going to be talking about the agri value chain. And we're going to be having 3 important speakers that will talk about the agricultural sector and the agri value chain. But before we go to talk about the agri value chain, I just want to talk a little bit about that sector. Thankfully, the first keynote speaker, Mrs. Ndidi Uneli, has done justice to the agricultural sector and the agri value chain. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that again. So we all know that in Nigeria, like she said, we have so much arable land. As in, you can practically just drop a seed on the ground and it will sprout out, as a tree. So, you know that the agricultural sector in Nigeria is estimated to be worth about $85 billion. And then, when it comes to arable land in the world, it says Africa has about 60% of the world's arable land. That is land that you can easily grow food, grow crops, grow everything without really doing so much. And then out of that 60%, 13% is in our own country, Nigeria. And that amounts to about 82 million hectares. I think she said that in her presentation. But currently, we are only utilizing just about 34 million hectares of that arable land. So you can see that there's still a vast, headroom. Still a vast opportunity that we can use to tap agriculture. Now, we all know that, before the discovery of crude oil in Nigeria, agriculture used to be one of Nigeria's mainstay. It contributed a significant portion of Nigeria's GDP, but since 1970, agriculture in Nigeria has really declined to the point whereby, all the way to the late 2000s, that agriculture that used to contribute an average of 25% of our GDP is now contributing just about, maybe 5.1% of our GDP. So, there's a lot that we need to do to get back to where, we need to be in this country when it comes to agriculture. Luckily, our leaders, based on the policies they are setting, And based on the fact that, we've gone through different cycles of when we'll have a crude oil boom and then we'll have a crude oil bust, they'll be thinking about how to diversify, the economy and ensure that it's not only agricultural driven. So they are coming back to where they are developing policies to ensure that agriculture and other forms of export earnings are what, we should be thinking about now. So that's just like a small introduction into the agricultural value chain. But now I would like to introduce our speakers, and I'll introduce the first speaker, or our panelist. I'll introduce our first panelist. Once again, we're going to be inviting Mrs. Ndidi Uneli to the stage. She was just the one that spoke just now. As you all know, Mrs. Ndidi Uneli has had a very inspiring career. She is a social entrepreneur. She's a serial entrepreneur. She's worked in one of the foremost consulting firms in the world, that's McKinsey & Company. She's also created so many businesses. She mentioned the fact that she's a co-founder of Ace Foods. She's also a co-founder of Sahel Africa. And Sahel Africa, is a consulting firm that provides a lot of advisory, financial advisory, and advisory in terms of people that are going into the agricultural sector and people that are going to different agri value chains. So let me just read a very short profile of Mrs. Ndidi. She's an expert and a social innovator in agriculture and nutrition, entrepreneurship and youth development. She has over 25 years of international development experience and is a recognized serial entrepreneur. She's an author. She's a public speaker, as you've just seen. She has given a very, very good, discussion on the agri value chain, and she's also a consultant. So please, let's give a round of applause once again to Mrs. Ndidi Uneli. We're glad to have you here, ma. Thank you very much. One of the things that really inspired me when I was doing some research on her, I've always known her, but I never knew she was really into this agriculture. But one thing that inspired me more is the fact that she's done so much for herself, and yet she's still very young. As in, she is a very young person. So we'll go on to the next person. This is also an equally very young person, an entrepreneur. He's the CEO of Crop to Cash, an agricultural technology company that makes formal financing easily accessible to farmers. Michael's passion for agriculture is driven by his vision of eradicating poverty by building solutions that can create prosperity for the base of the pyramid. So I'd like to also introduce, and please give a round of applause to our second panelist, Mr. Michael Ogundare, the CEO of Crop to Cash. Please, can you keep on clapping until you get to the stage? Thank you very much. So we have a third panelist on this for this session as well. Now, Mr. Akin Alabi is the visionary of and co-founder of Corporate Farmers International Limited. He's a master's holder and he also has an MBA and a BSc accounting from Olabisi Onabanjo University, Ogun State. He's also a graduate of Orange Academy, a brand and advertising school in Maryland, Lagos. But there's a lot more about Mr. Akin Alabi. More or less, he created a blog, and that blog has so many followers that from just having a blog, he created a business. And that business is doing a lot in terms of making people know that agriculture is not just about farming, changing the perception of agriculture or farming, as it were. Please, let's give a round of applause to Mr. Akin Alabi. Please, can you keep on clapping until you get here too? So, now that we have all our panelists on the stage, before we go into the questions I will be asking them, I just want to let everyone know that, especially for our audience online, that you can also be part of this conversation this morning. I think what to media, if you don't mind, you can also show how that can be made possible. There will be a QR code that will be beamed on the stage right now where you can actually go on slido.com. You can use the QR code to ask your question. So that if you're looking at the stage now, there's a QR code that everyone is seeing there. Go to slido.com. Just use your phone, a smartphone, please, to get the QR code, and you can use that to ask your questions, because we are going to give opportunity for some of the audience, that is the online audience, to actually ask some questions. Let me just give some time for everybody to do that. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my, but I guess I don't have to go too much into the objectives of this particular session. Like I said, it's investment opportunities in the agri value chain, and we're trying to see how we can enumerate the difficulties and challenges in this chain, and of course, prefer some possible solutions into them, and also talk about the opportunities that exist in this particular sector. So, my first question for the panelists, and this is going to Mrs. Ndidi. The question is, why do you think that the agricultural sector and the agri value chain has not really boomed or succeeded in Nigeria, despite numerous government policies that have been preferred for the sector? We have a policy called the Agricultural Promotion Policy. This policy is aimed at resolving production shortage, improving the output quality. And we also have another policy that is being used by the current government. That is the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. And this particular policy is aimed at prioritizing food security and achieving self-sufficiency in certain products like rice, like wheat, and tomato paste. So despite numerous policies that we've had by successive governments in Nigeria, why do you think that the agricultural sector is still, and the value chain around it has not really succeeded in Nigeria? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the question. And I thought I was leaving and they brought me back. So I'm sure you're wondering why I'm back again. I think there's an echo. Is it okay? Okay. So I would say there are a couple of reasons. I don't think you can separate the agriculture sector from the rest of the country. The unique challenges are systematic of everything we see in Nigeria. Inconsistent policies. We actually have mapped how many policies they've been, how often they've been changed, and how much funding has gone to those policies. And I have to tell you, it's been very dismal. The policy flip-flopping and the inconsistency has crippled the sector. And typically we have one agri policy, then the Ministry of Trade has another policy, the central bank actually has another policy, the Ministry of Finance, and they're not cohesive, they're actually fighting against each other. That's one. The second is we really haven't had the right people in the sector and the right investment in the sector. We had a lot of hope when we had Akinwumi Adesina, because there was one of the few times in our country's history we had someone who studied agriculture, who was an international expert, who was passionate about the sector in that role. And you saw the growth that happened in many, many value chains, seed, cassava, etc., during his tenure. So we need leadership at the top. We need leadership through the entire sector. We need young people who have intelligence, passion to enter the sector. And then the third thing is really we need the right amount of investments in infrastructure. In Nigeria, it's often considered cheaper. I mean, before the global shipping challenges, it was considered cheaper to bring in a container from England of potatoes from England to Lagos than from Jos to Lagos. I mean, could you imagine? When we did that study, we were shocked because of the poor quality of the roads, number of checkpoints, the lack of storage and cold storage facilities. And that's all an investment opportunity for someone to take on. If we don't have infrastructure, we don't have security, we don't have the enabling environment, agriculture can't thrive. I think just like technology, there has been a boom around food from this context, but we haven't been able to fully scale it because of these barriers, and we need everything working in tandem for the sector to really take off.
Thank you very much. So she mentioned three things: alignment, having the right leadership, and having the right investment in the sector. Those are the reasons why. And there, from those responses, creates opportunity for us as well. Try and see if we can address those challenges. Now, my next question is going to Michael Ogundari. We all know that for any business to thrive, you require financing. So financing is a big challenge in the industry, and the government is well aware of this. Now, despite several government interventions to access finance, for the agricultural sector, such as the Anchor Borrower Scheme. I'm sure you guys all have heard of the Rice Anchor Borrower Scheme. We also have the Commercial Agricultural Credit Scheme, that's called CACS. We even have the Agricultural Credit Support Scheme, ACSS. Why, despite all of these interventions, to access finance, is the agricultural sector still lacking in finance, basically?
Thank you. Still on? Testing. Awesome. All right. Yeah. Thank you very much for the question. And finance is key to almost every single sector. Like, it's not just agriculture, but everywhere. But when we're looking at the agriculture sector alone, within Nigeria itself, every single year there's approximately $19 billion funding gap in agriculture in Nigeria today. I mean, if we're going to expand that to the perspective of the continent, that funding gap is worth $170 billion every single year. Now, where does this capital exist? If we look at the banks in Nigeria today, the people that should actually finance agriculture, less than 4% of total bank lending in Nigeria actually goes into that sector. So almost all of the capital that should be feeding all of us, that should be feeding the world, is going into other sectors that, well, you can have your opinions about them. But the most important sector to all of us, I mean, agriculture, which is what's going to put food on the table, which is what's going to guarantee the future for all of us, gets a very tiny, minuscule amount of the funding that is required. So the problem isn't that there isn't finance and the capital exists. The problem is that how do you get that capital to the people that actually need it? And I mean, today the Anchor Borrowers Program, I think they've been around for the past 5, 6, 7 years or so, and they've only been able to give out just over $3 billion or so. And every year we've got a $19 billion funding gap. So you can see how big that gap is. Now, for the financial institutions themselves, the major problem for them is figuring out who to actually give this, money to. The problem is that the identity part of things isn't just there yet. It's very easy for you and I to, bring out our own BVN or do whatever it is that we want to do. But for smallholder farmers in rural communities, that's not the same case for them. So most of the credit that has been available in the past few years has actually not been going to the right set of people. At Crop to Cash, we have this thing we call green farmers and yellow farmers. So basically, most of the credit that has been available has been going to yellow farmers. These are people that are not really farmers. So you've got 80 to 90% of all that $3 billion I just mentioned right now going to people that are not actually farmers. Now, the entire scheme itself is very important. It's creating, a solution to the problem. But the problem is that, there's a problem within the solution itself. There's a bit of corruption, money goes to who it shouldn't be going to, and then it still makes sure that, it still keeps the entire sector behind. But for us at Crop to Cash, one thing that we actually realize is that, to solve this problem, data is actually needed. You need to know who you're giving money to. You need to know what their previous performance has been like. So solving that required us to take a look at, it's very easy for anyone here right now to say they want to dial a bank's USSD code or something and get a quick loan in 10 minutes. Why is that possible? It's possible because there's transaction data for you. They know how much you've made in the past 3 to 6 months. They know how much you spent. In the case of smallholder farmers, they're also very active in the economy. The problem is that their activity is cash-based. So that data just doesn't exist. And it makes it very hard for financial institutions to determine who to give credit to, how much to give to them, how much risk they have to bear. So what we've pretty much just done is to digitize the agri value chain, put it into a solution that is very easy for smallholder farmers to get access to, which is what USSD. USSD works on every single mobile phone in the world today, in anywhere. I've been to a community where the only place where you can make a phone call is to climb a tree. Yes, but it's as crazy as it sounds. For that set of community, what we've done for them there, it means that now they can climb a tree to send money, to receive money, and to actually, participate in the digital economy. I mean, there are infrastructural problems that need to be solved to make sure that they don't have to climb trees. But what's most important is that in the most difficult of places, access should be possible. They should be able to access the things that we can all access. And when you have the transaction data around, what they're spending on, the inputs they're purchasing and all of that, it makes it a lot easier for you to know who to give credit to, when to give credit to them, how much and all of that. But the big problem is just that data just doesn't exist. And that needs to change really, really quickly for us to be able to solve this major problem that's, we've got right now.
Thank you very much, Michael. So you talked about identity problem, that's KYC, know your customer. Personally, I'm a banker, so I know that, before you can give credit to any customer, you actually have to know that customer very well and have all the transaction history. And I know if the customer is bankable or not. You talked about having that transaction history and that data to be able to really give the right financing. But you said that financing is actually still going to the industry, just that there's a mismatch between supply and demand. So there's a 19 billion requirement and it's about only 3 billion going there. Sorry. And then unfortunately, it's going to the wrong set of people. You mentioned something called yellow farmers. Can you please explain that a little bit more? Who are yellow farmers?
Okay, all right. So, yellow, so again, this is like an internal joke for us, but it's really just, when, if there's an application for a grant right now, and 10 people are applying for it, 5 out of them are actual real farmers with farms and all of that, and the other 5 are probably relatives of the people that are organizing the credit scheme itself. So, when the credit application comes through, who's it going to get approved for? And then, of course, on paper, those people are farmers, but in actual fact, they aren't really. And then that money goes to them, and rather than, purchasing the right fertilizer, the right input, and actually growing crops for all of us, a new Prado Jeep is bought.
We also have the problem of even the finance that is scarce going to the wrong set of people. So there's also something for the government to do there, to try and curb this menace. Okay, you mentioned something about smallholder farmers. So my next question is going to Mr. Akinlabi. Okay, so I'm sure you guys all know smallholder farmers. Yeah. No. How can smallholder farmers get better access to the markets? When Mrs. Indy started, she talked about the fact that some of our parents are farmers, but none of us here really wants to associate with that because, those smallholder farmers are attributed to be, very poor because they don't really get a lot of value for their products. They don't even get the right price for their products. So how can smallholder farmers get better access to markets to sell their farm produce at competitive prices that they ensure they are not cheated and also without incurring high costs of transportation?
Can you hear me? All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Akinlabi, but before I go into the question, let's do this. We're going to sing this, yeah? You're going to join me to do this together. Iṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀, iṣẹ́ yìí. So let's just do 1-1. Iṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀, hands lẹ́wà, ẹni òṣìṣẹ́ á máa jalè. Ìwé kíkọ́ láìsí ọkọ́ àti àdá kò yí pé o, kò yí pé o. But today we use tractors and other fantastic smallholders tools for our farm. We don't use hoe and cutlass anymore. So back to the question. For us as corporate farmers, we've been in the industry for 2 decades. That's 20 years. As I rightly said, we started very small with the power of media. Blog Sport now transformed into a company. And we've been able to work with smallholder farmers over the years, especially within the Southwest, from Kogi to Ikenne to Ogun State, to other places around Lagos. And the challenges of smallholders is enormous. Market, finance, accessibility, visibility, transportation, logistics is enormous. So what we've done, from our own perspective, what we've done from our own side is simple. It's all about power of aggregation. Aggregation and providing simple, visible tools that will help your smallholder farmers achieve their objectives. Now, what I'm saying in essence is this. Now, an instance, we work with a couple of farmers in Ikenne, that's in Ogun State, within 2020, 2021, during that COVID era. And if you're very familiar with Ikenne, Iperu, Remo to Shagamu, there are cross farmers that are majorly into cassava. And they have challenges. Basically, after harvest, they get to the hands of middlemen, and most times they don't get the reward of their labor. So what we did was to partner with an FMCG that uses most of these commodities for their own produce. So we're able to aggregate majorly most of these commodities from these zones. We're able to harvest about 5-6 trailers from that particular area for a particular FMCG I'm just going to disclose. But the question is this: how can we begin to help our SMH, our smallholder farmers? It's by bringing them together in clusters, bringing them together and support them. Now, today in Nigeria, the numbers of smallholder farmers we have, especially in the north, is quite enormous. But they have challenges in accessing them. And that's why most times I find it very alarming whereby they are being taken advantage of most times. And because they are not learned and the challenges of accessibility is not there for them. So most of big farmers, those who are actually the big farmers, are the ones that can actually help these smallholder farmers to get the right need of what they want. So that means in helping smallholder farmers, you need to aggregate them effectively based on the commodity or the value chain or enterprise which they are focused on. For example, if you're in a particular zone and your SMH is focused on maize, there's a way you can bring them together in clusters and provide simple solutions for them so that they can actually reach their potentials and also hit the market, and so that they will reduce losses even as it comes. That is one. Then two, how can we also help our SMH? By providing some level of funding. Today, I'm always speaking about Sterling Bank. I'm sorry for advert, but that is the bank that I know. We've worked with them over the years, and we've been able to get a couple of support for smallholder farmers across special areas today in the country, and it's been very effective for us. And today, most times when they come to our office, most times in the harvest period, they are always thanking us. Reason because we've been able to aggregate them into clusters, support them with funding, market accessibility, and also been able to get the reward of their labor. The only thing that can make a smallholder farmer cry is when he puts so much energy into his cultivation, and when it's time for harvest, he's not reaping the fruit of his labor. It's very disheartening, and it's sad. But together, bring them together in clusters, bring them together in aggregation, mapping their commodities, and helping them access simple funds that would upskill them and help them go again into another cycle of production. So those are the simple ways we can actually support our smallholder farmers to access and also reach the market.
Thank you very much. So aggregation, cluster markets, and even for the bigger farmers to actually provide some support to the smallholder farmers. So my next question is actually going to Ndidi. There are huge opportunities in the value chain of most crops. In fact, the presentation you just had talked about, the value chain of several products there. Now, take for instance, soya beans. Now, soya bean vegetable oil is an extract from soya bean. For some of us that want to have, take healthy oil, soya bean vegetable oil is what most people use. But you know that from the soya bean, there's also the meal, and that meal can be used for, feeding feeding animals. There's also the back of soya beans, they're also used for feeding animals. And you know that some countries in Europe actually import it from Africa just to feed their animals, because they don't have enough of it. But here in Nigeria, I think the only real benefit of soya bean is the vegetable oil. And even that, I don't even know how commercial it is. So my question is, with all those opportunities we have in the soya bean value chain and other ones, my question is, for soya beans, we have the soya bean oil, we have the meal that can be used for farm produce and all that, but soya bean itself can even be processed into soy milk, into soy flour, and soy sauce. So with so many opportunities in that value chain, why do you think it's still largely untapped in Nigeria?
I actually want to correct a few things. I think there's nothing wasted from soya bean in Nigeria today. So the demand for soya and corn is out of this world. The biggest user is the poultry industry, and we cannot meet their requirements. In fact, Nigeria imports 40% of the soya used in this country from the US and other places. And to address this, we need to improve the productivity of our farmers. Because what happens, and we need to ensure that they have consistent demand. And this is where I agree with you, there needs to be more processing of soya flour, but there's already lots of, I'll tell you that the oil is a byproduct. People are more even interested in the feed for chickens. Right now, how much is a crate of eggs? 2,500. If you ask the people who are producing eggs, it's 2,500 Lekki. Maybe by the time you go to the poultry farm, it's 1,500. But regardless, when you ask them, why is it 1,500? They say it's feed. Feed is 80% of their costs. And that's soya and maize, primarily, and yellow maize in particular. So I would say that we need to invest in more soya farms. We need to invest in more processing of human products, because we also want this soya, not just the chickens. We need the soya for feeding our children. Soya is used for so many products. And then we need to create stronger value chain associations in the soya industry so that we have the enabling environment to support the policy landscape. I'll tell us a funny story. One day I was on a plane, or a sad story. I was on a plane coming from Senegal, and I met this African-American woman. I was like, what are you doing coming to Nigeria? She said, I work for the Soya Bean Association of America. Nigeria has just taken a World Bank loan for school feeding, and we want them to use soya from America. And I was so angry. They've taken a loan, which my grandchildren will be paying for. And who is benefiting? Farmers in America who grow soya bean. They have a strong lobby. Where is our lobby, the Soya Bean Association of Nigeria? Where is that lobby that's lobbying to protect Nigerian farmers, that's lobbying for a policy environment that supports farmers, that's lobbying for the right financing for the farmers, and ensuring that we make it unattractive for Americans to come in to sell their soya here? I love America. I'm part American, so don't get me wrong. But I want to prioritize Nigerian farmers, right? And so we need a cohesive value chain strategy, because soya right now is one of the most valuable crops in our sector. Maize, if I have to prioritize the crops, cassava, rice, maize, soya, tomatoes. If I had to pick, give me one more, it's yam. These are critical for food self-sufficiency, and we need cohesive value chain strategies from farm to fork for each of these value chains.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, but let me just add to what she said. Because we worked on a project with Agra last year on soya, and I did a couple of research, which I want to just read out here, just to buttress what she said. Now, someone is telling me that soya can actually replace petroleum-based chemicals in many products. Soya-based print inks, foams, glues, lubricants, and paints, just to mention a few. Also, he also said, do you know that 80 million acres of soya beans is grown across the US, making soya beans always readily available to meet food industries and consumers? And now ask the questions, Nigeria, where are we? Sometimes in 2021, we're farming soya in Niger State, but unfortunately, we had issues of insecurity. So we had to leave about 200 hectares of soya and groundnut maize in Niger State. But we had to leave because of bandits and all that. Now, it shows the extent of potentials Nigerian farmers have. But the question again, which will kill, is insecurity. The lands are there. The potentials are there. But we need to tweak a couple of things to enable us achieve our huge potentials as a country at large. It's just to add to what she said. Thank you
very much, Akin. In fact, please go ahead.
Advertising. So Ace Foods produces a soya maize, which is fortified with vitamins and minerals, a complete meal. So soya can replace so much of what for baby food, for infant formula, for all the way to a replacement for milk, right? Use soya powder to replace our imported milk. So I really believe there's tremendous potential in this sector, and just to change that mindset, we are leveraging the sector. We need to do more.
So there you have it. In case you're thinking of where to go and invest in, maybe soybean should be at the top of your list. So she also mentioned some other products like maize and cassava and others. But there's so much potential here, and we are leaving money on the table. We're leaving a lot of money on the table. So I think we should actually be looking at how to begin to harness all these opportunities. So my next question is going to Michael. And we've heard so much about the vast potential we have in the agricultural sector and the value chain of agriculture. But one of the things it's really the problem is that we don't have a clear direction. There's no vision, there's no strategy or alignment of strategies that would actually ensure that we are doing the agricultural value chain and agriculture in the right way. So in your opinion, do you think that there is a policy or policies or a particular technology shift that will move the country towards a sustainable, developed, and profitable agricultural value chain?
Thank you. I think we have a lot of policies, policies upon policies upon policies, and almost all of these different policies, they all come out, with good intention, but when you're competing with the policy from the Ministry of Trade, with the policy from the Central Bank, with the policy from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, and other ministries that you would not even think that they should be making policies that should affect agriculture. When you have all of these things coming together, then you start having problems. We've got a lot of policies, but we're writing a lot of policies, but we're not doing a lot of acting and execution. That's majorly the problem. And the war in Ukraine, Russia that's happening right now is truly affecting the entire supply chain of the entire world. And as strong as we are in agriculture in Nigeria today, it's a major opportunity for us. We've got policies that could actually make it easier for us, take advantage of these things. But the execution is still the biggest problem. An example would be the fact that the central bank just launched a new banking license called the PSB, the Payment Service Bank, and now means that telcos can start banks and they can get a banking license and be in rural communities. One of the very good policies that made there was that at least 25% of their customers must be in rural communities. And when you're talking about who are mostly the people in rural communities? Smallholder farmers. So that's a great policy. But then when that policy is also affecting, or when that policy is also in competition with the policies for commercial banks, for policies with different other institutions and parastatals, then it almost feels everything starts colliding. Security is still a major issue too for agriculture. What are the policies around that? It's sad to say, the entire insecurity situation, you've talked about how it has affected your farm. For us in our company today, we felt that to the point of actually losing someone that is close to a staff of ours at the office. So the insecurity has gone to the point that people that are close to us have been kidnapped and have been killed. It's gotten to that point, but should we stop? We can't stop. It still needs to happen. So at the end of the day, it's really just about getting some sort of cohesion with the multiple policies that exist today. The work that Sahel is doing is super important for things like this. There are other major players like that, especially in the private sector, that truly understand this and are seeing this more from the commercial perspective and not from the, I'm a big man filling a big seat perspective. And if all of that doesn't change, can we move forward? I think we can. Will we move forward? We just need to, get our acts right.
Thank you very much. I don't know, perhaps you want to contribute to that? Okay, go ahead.
For me, what I always say about policy is this. Most times, when FGN releases policy, I always bring it down to the state. How effective have your state been able to implement such policies? Because I work close with Lagos State in terms of agricultural policies and implementations on certain projects. And I've seen that they've been able to implement these policies down to their farmers across several local governments. And it's working. So most times when FGN releases some huge policies, now the question is, take it down to your state government and say, okay, this is the policy by federal government. How can I begin to break it down to fit into our state? Because the rationale or the ideology from Lagos State is different from Jigawa State, different from Kebbi, different from Kano. So you need to now bring it down to your state and say, okay, this is a policy. How can our state adopt it, implement it to suit our smallholder farmers? I think that's the only way I feel that policies can work effectively for your people and for your farmers.
Thank you very much. So it's not about bringing out more policies, more about the execution. How do we actually implement those policies and ensure that they are taking the right effect? And that brings me to my next question, which is going to Mr. Akin. What initiatives or programs can be undertaken by the public and private sector to further bring awareness to the public, to the investors, and to the youths in the various opportunities that exist in the agricultural value chain? Essentially, how can people become aware that agriculture is more than just farming?
All right, thank you very much. It's all about PPP. That's what you just said now, public-private partnership, PPP. I remember when we started a couple of years back, about 5 years ago, when we started an initiative called Agri-Campus Store. Let me pick it from that angle. Samson's a very good friend of mine, so he knows virtually most of our histories. What we did, number one, was to start with the youth. We had a couple of initiatives around all campuses in the country. So we went from campus to campus. So imagine how tedious that was. From campus to campus across Nigeria to first do what we call reorientation. That's the first thing we did. We did that for about 2 years. Then after that, we now begin to knock on the private investors, private partners. Okay, fine. Now we've done a reorientation left to a certain level. Then how can the private partners begin to play in the ecosystem? Now, you see that people that are in the sector will know that agriculture has a huge risk in it. So even for private partners to play in it, they'll first of all look at the risk involvement before they even bring down their money. But it's left for you as a stakeholder or a player to let them see the benefits and the ROI and the importance on or before the risk value. So private partners today is as critical as anything. And when you see most states that are developing today in agriculture, most countries, there is a lot of involvement around private partnership. Government will provide its own enabling environment, but private partners need to now identify where they can play in. Today, we are partners with the NGX, that's the Nigerian Exchange, formerly the NSE, on agri-financing models. Today, we are building what we call innovative financing across the entire ecosystem with the capital markets. Because we believe that the banks, the traditional banks, are not heeding to the farmer's call. So we have to provide an alternative, in providing financing for our farmers using simple, innovative schemes that will meet their needs by looking at the risks. That is one. Then in terms of seeds too, we have to look at, who are those who can supply seeds to our farmers, both local, both international, that will meet specific demands of our farmers. That is two. Then three, we have to look at, again, in terms of logistics, which is a very critical thing in agriculture. In moving your commodity from Nasarawa down to Lagos. If you tell Amadu, take my yam, or let me use a simple commodity, let me use tomatoes. Take my tomatoes from Nasarawa down to Mile 12. Amadu might use 3 days on the road and tell you that probably he broke down in Jeba, or probably he's in Kotangora, he had to change his something. And the tomatoes in his truck is going down by the day in terms of value. Because when it gets back to Mile 12, they will buy it in a very cheap, so those are the things, areas we believe that private partners can tap in, look into, which Inidi said in our first presentation, and said, look, we need more private partners to be plugged into the ecosystem to have a larger value chain players and make it more attractive and make it more investable.
Thank you very much. It's all about public-private partnership and, creating that more awareness. Just to remind us once again that there are opportunities for people in the audience, either here physically or online, to go to slido.com and put their questions. And from some of the questions coming from the audience, I have one for Ndidi. During one of your responses, you mentioned the huge opportunities in yam, being that one of the issues is the wastage that happens during the seasons. Can you talk about the opportunities in the areas of food storage?
Thank you so much. I think there's so many opportunities in food storage, and I'll start from the tomato example he talked about. We've been using raffia baskets to package tomato for, I don't know, I'm 47, I'm not young, my brother. So I'm pushing 50. But since I was born, we've been using raffia baskets, I think for the last 60 years, right? Why are raffia baskets bad? Because when you put some fruits or vegetables on top of each other, it creates heat. Then you're putting them inside a truck and putting the baskets on top of each other, right? So the heat does what? It almost cooks them. It spoils them. Innovation in packaging means that you're using crates, so no fruit is touching each other. There's ventilation between the fruits. Do you understand? It also means that before it leaves Kanu and gets to Mile 12, that they actually pack houses in strategic locations between Lagos and Kanu. So you actually, and in South Africa, in other parts of Africa, you actually have these pack houses. They're refrigerated. Farmers bring them in. The produce is cleaned and it's actually repackaged and put in another truck so that it cools down and goes along the way. So there's opportunities in changing the type of packaging we use from farm to fork, even for fresh produce, ensuring we have pack houses, silos, and distribution centers across the country, which many companies will share. And if you ask companies, they're all looking to share them, right? Ensuring that you also have, we call them silos. Right now, government has commercialized a lot of silos because they can't even manage them. But beyond the silos, there are opportunities at the very basic level for changing how we package potatoes and tomatoes and yams and mangoes and oranges, and the list goes on. When an orange falls from the tree, how many of you know it gets bruised? So we always used to shake our trees so that the mango and orange will fall down. That's the worst thing you need to do, because that bruise becomes like an injury. The same way when you fall from a tree and you hit your ground, and that bruise then becomes something that reduces the value of that produce and makes it have a shorter shelf life. And so you have a mango that can only last for 1 week or 2 weeks versus having it last for 1 month. So I think if you're someone who is innovative any value chain. Look at anywhere in the world and say, what have they done in that part of the world that I can replicate in Nigeria? The great thing is that there are associations and funders to help you. There's actually a cold storage association that GAIN, the Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition, has been supporting. I sit on the board of GAIN. The Rockefeller Foundation has also been supporting a post-harvest loss initiative. I sit on the board of the Rockefeller Foundation. They have funding if you have innovative approaches to solve these problems. So don't think there's no funding. What we're looking for is innovation. We're looking for people who are interested in doing something differently, who are interested in partnering with others, and who have integrity. If you have those ingredients within you and you are passionate about storage and addressing post-harvest losses, please join the Nourishing Africa platform, find all those opportunities, or reach out to me and get a copy of all the resources we have available to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Indy. She says I shouldn't say she's young, but she says she sits on so many boards, and she's done 25 years or more in the industry, and she's just 47. So I guess... Okay. I still have one question from the audience. And I think this question will go to you, Michael. It says, how can an agribusiness survive the turbulent incubation period faced by many startups?
Community. That's just it. I think the biggest way or the biggest advantage that you can get is community. You can't do this alone. There will always be different challenges. Something's wrong with your crop today. Some new thing is coming up, whatever it is. But the best way for you to actually, survive the entire period, especially if you're like a first time or a second time farmer, is to not just do this alone, but to do this with other people that already have that experience, other people that are going through something similar with you. And I am on the Nourishing Africa platform, and I have seen how that works. And just as she said, the goal isn't to go on this journey alone. If you really want to, they say if you want to go far, you go what? Together. And that's that's the way you can survive this. There are many other ways that you can survive the specific challenges that you're facing, but without community, that's it.
Thank you very much. I think with that, we've probably come to the end of this panel. And just to kind of summarize, you would see that, we have so much opportunity, but we have to have the right alignment of policies. We have to have the right investment in infrastructure. We also have to have the right leadership in this sector to ensure that, we can push this sector forward. Now, for those that might still have questions, please, the conversation still goes on social media. So if you can just go to Twitter, you can use the hashtag Covenant Capital, or you could also use the hashtag Agribusiness Conference 2022, and keep asking your questions, and I'm sure that, you'll get the right responses. So we need to keep this conversation going, and we need to ensure that we can actually harness that value in the agricultural value chain. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for our panelists. A big round of applause to them once again.
Wow. Amazing. So can we put our hands together for the panelists?
Thank you.
I personally feel like I'm not getting the ginger from us. What's happening? This is value that you are getting for free. This is a lot of value. These conversations are very important for national growth, for development, and it's a blessing that you're here today. It's a privilege that you're here today. So I'm going to teach you how to clap. Yes. We are going to give this first panel the thunder clap, right? So how do you clap the thunder clap? Is drizzling, 1. Is drizzling, is drizzling, 2. Is raining, 3. Then thunder. And then you give it to the panelists. Can we go? All right. 1, 2, ready, go. Is drizzling? Is drizzling? Is drizzling? Is raining? Is raining? Is raining? Thunder. 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 Give it to the panelists. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. We hope you're enjoying the conversation. And to take it forward, because we had a lot of questions on Slido that we couldn't take because of the time, it's very important for us to get materials. There are a lot of materials out there. So as you're going, we have books from Mrs. Ndidi, we have books from Dr. Bamidele, we have books from African farmers, because this is the start. It doesn't end here. For you to be able to make the money in the industry, you have to learn, you have to understand the opportunities in the industry, you have to know how to brand that business. You even have to know where you want to be situated in the value chain. Because from logistics alone, you can make a lot of money. So please, let us get materials outside. We also have the farmers market outside. You know, I told you I like good food. Today, yes, so you can go and buy food, fresh food, at market price. With inflation, I know very soon food prices will go really high. So you can buy food at market prices and store at home. Also, if you're running a business, we have the business clinic. So we have one-on-one sessions at the foyer. You can just talk to somebody at the foyer that you are interested in the business clinic session. So I've been enjoying my time so far. Are you enjoying yourself as well? Okay, so if you're enjoying yourself as well, say Covenant Capital. All right, thank you very much.
All right, so let's also remember to patronize the farmers at the farmers market. I think for agriculture, one of the things that breaks my heart is the fact that some of these farmers don't get value for their money, apart from the wastage and all that. When people buy things from them, they just price it at anyhow and pay the barest minimum. But let's also try and contribute to this part of the economy by paying good money for the food we eat that keep us healthy and alive. And moving on, we've talked about the opportunities in agriculture, and we will move on to the next panel discussion, which will be focusing on unlocking the potential and scaling your agri-business venture. And to anchor and moderate that for us, I would like to call on Urola Kolejo.
Let's put our hands together for Ura. Welcome, Ura. It promises to be another amazing panel session. Please don't forget to put your questions on Slido. You can just scan the code when it comes up. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome everybody to the second panel. Here we will be talking about unlocking potentials and scaling your agribusiness ventures. The objective here is to understand what the capacity really is. Right now, the world is now a global village, a global market. So if you are thinking of production in agriculture and you're thinking Nigeria, the world has gone way beyond that. Everybody has to eat. The Nigerian population is just over 200 million. But you're looking at a global market now. You can be in Nigeria here and sell your products outside. So we should be thinking, act global and be thinking global. That is what the market is right now. So it's really beyond what we have here. So right now, the panelists we have are people that are actually, very seasoned in these areas. We have we have Dr. Bamidele Ayemibo. Please welcome him to the stage. You're welcome. So, he will be talking to us majorly about exports. It's one thing to start a business in Nigeria here, and we all understand that most businesses fail within the first 5 years. If you're now thinking of going global, you need the experience of somebody that has actually been there to create that leverage that you need to catch up with the opportunities in the world right now. And this is your guru right now for this. So the next person we have is the African farmer Mogaji. Please welcome him to the stage. Now, you're welcome. I have one question for you after this, and I'm sure everybody else would like to know. Now, if you are talking production in agriculture, you are looking at seedlings, you are looking at the resources, factors of production, basically. Land is a major. So for this session, he's going to be talking to us more about those specific areas. The questions are going to be tailored about, your seedlings, basically requirements you need to even start up in this field. You need to have good seeds for good yields. So, and he has a lot of experience with that, as well as when it comes to, opportunities, land, and machines. So those are the areas we'll be covering in this panel. Questions? Oh, I think I lost my questions. If you... Can I have my questions here, please? Wow. Okay. Yes. So, for the questions, the question one goes to Africa farmer Mogaji. One, the Nigerian farmer, Africa generally has the organic productivity advantage over the rest of the world. We are talking about 8 billion people projected by the end of this year to be in the world. And food production is struggling to catch up with that. Now, Africa has this organic, healthier advantage over the rest of the world. And the world is going with the GMO production for quantity to catch up. How do you suppose that the Nigerian farmer can, retain the integrity of our production and then harness the advantage of quantity of GMOs in this present time?
Okay. Now, first, thank you for inviting me here, Covenant Capital. So, knowledge. Nobody will dance to the tune that you have not played the music.
That's true.
So, the GMO manufacturers have played their music loud. So, nobody here is playing the music. Have you gone to any state house, local government, even Aso Rock, and you are seeing them introducing dundu, fried yam, akara, the local football league, to their foreign delegates that come? No, you won't find it. You will find Asian rice, not even Nigerian rice. Until we begin to be proud of what we produce, we will not get out there. I can tell you this, a majority of what we import is chaff. The container is more nutritional than the content, but nobody is talking about it. That is where, it's very myopic for people outside the agri sector to always be looking at production. When the brand expert, the sales expert, the marketing expert needs to take these products, own it, and push it out. That is when you say agri value chain, which involves most of the experts. Dole Banana. Dole Banana is Ore Banana. Same thing. But Dole is a multinational like Chevron globally. They only package banana, make it fine, call photographers to take nice pictures. And they package it. Our Euro, bitter leaf. Some Germans now have packaged it into capsules and they are owning the market. Bottom line is that we need to look inwardly, and I'm thinking maybe Lagos state government being the leading when it comes to innovation and pioneering. Let's begin to eat what we produce. And the moment we begin to be proud of it and make, bold of it, these things will change. Now, Africa, unfortunately, the colonialism is still affecting us. If it is not foreign, and the foreigners are looking for what we have. Organic sells 2-3 times the price in US. My first time in the US and I bought pineapple. I was shocked that the pineapple was from Ghana. Most of the pineapple you see in Tesco and Co is from Ghana, from one company. So, pawpaws here, nobody fertilizes pawpaw. We don't fertilize pineapples. We don't fertilize mango. Indeed, he was talking about mango. 4 years ago, some Israeli researchers have come to take our cherry mango. I know the person they sent to Nigeria to take the seeds and Ogbomoso mango back to Israel 4 years ago to work on it. So bottom line is that we need to begin to package or repackage what people see. When we repackage what people see and we talk about it, and let me say this. Fortunately, myself and Bamdele, we were both past chairmen at the Lagos Chamber. I was Agric, he was export. And one of the things I did was to say, going forward, we are not going to take any carbonated drinks. We're not going to take any eatery food. So I brought Gari package. One guy was packaging Gari and Kuli Kuli in a cup, well sealed, and we will take Gari. And mind you, if you come to the Chamber of Commerce, you have to be formally dressed. People kicked against it, but Gari and Kuli Kuli we took. I was producing sweet corn. We brought sweet corn. Everything we were eating were local things, and guess what? The Indians first rushed the Gari and Kuli Kuli and corn. And so we did that a couple of times. And so the more we begin to do that, the more these foods come up, the more it's appealing, and guess what? It will help the farmer earn more. And the farmer can now be thinking of productivity, which is, can I produce the quality? So exports is more on quality. He will talk about that.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. So right now, in this aspect, what you are saying is that we need to, one, own our own products, because if we don't create value for them, nobody else will. Then two, create the awareness of what we have. It's just like, the time you mentioned colonialism, it's playing all over again. Then the idea was they came here, told us what we had wasn't good enough, told us what they had, and we bought it. Right now, that's where we still are. They are still taking what we have.
They didn't tell us that what we have was not good enough. They only told us that
they're better. Okay, indirectly. They told us they had better products, and we bought that. Right now, some of us know we have better products, but are we creating the awareness about it? That is where we are right now. If you go to the international airport and you see the number of foreigners coming into Nigeria, you wonder where every Nigerian is now going. You say Nigeria is not working. You are leaving, and these people are coming. What are they coming for? Is anybody wondering? There must be something they are here for. So we have to have that shift in our thinking, as in, what is it that we have here that the world wants, that we are leaving behind in our quest to Japa? Maybe we should Joko, to harness those things and then make the most out of it. Thank you very much for that. So the next question still goes to you. Now, it's about new greenhorns in the industry, new entrepreneurs going into agriculture. Now, basically, the way Nigerians do things, like in the mentioned earlier, that one person does one thing, before you know it, everybody is rushing into it. And that syndrome, kind of like kills a lot of businesses because they lack information, and then it's more like you are set up to even fail. And then we have a lot of scams coming up to take advantage of people in various industries, different sectors. But for agriculture, now you have young people who genuinely want to have heard, speakers here today, and they are genuinely interested in going into this field. What indicators should they be watching out for so that they don't fall into scams and then they run, a legitimate business? So they don't crash out in the first 1 year and then we are losing people that actually were inspired to come in the first place before they grow.
The most important when you are coming in is capacity development. Capacity. You need knowledge. Unfortunately, there is this erroneous belief that agriculture is simple. Let me narrow it down. Farming is simple. Is it not just to plant tomato? Is it not just to plant corn? But yet, you now plant the tomato that the market does not want to buy. About maybe 12, 15 years ago, we went to Benin Republic, and unfortunately, we don't share our mistakes around here. We share more around our successes. So there's no template for people to avoid. I always say this now. They say follow person we know road. I say follow person we don't miss road. We can't sabi road. Because if you don't follow person we don't miss road, you are likely to miss the road when something happens. So bottom line is capacity development. Internship. The guys leading the sector today, Samson, myself and a couple of others, internship, everybody volunteered. Check their history. Everybody served somebody somewhere without pay. Who are you serving before you want to run into it? So you need knowledge. One of the things we've done now, because we're starting a campaign, Feed Nigeria Now. Now everybody sees farming as as easy way out. There's need. Oh, we have to feed 200 million people. Must you be part of the people that will grow the crop? Can't you be the people that will transport it? So one of the things is that if you don't give people platforms also, a bigger platform, they won't know where to come in. And knowledge also is linear. What I mean by that is you have to come for a seminar. Now you have to do it online. We've partnered with a company where you can take a lot of courses for as simple as 3,000 naira. Because we need to be aggressive in feeding people. And the more we push out, the better that can be supported. When the funding that they're talking about, and there are quite a lot of them, when the funding comes and they come into the hands of people who don't have knowledge, you are going to repeat our mistakes. We have made a lot of mistakes. And so coaching, training is very crucial. And you need to serve either part-time, I call it on-the-job learning. Samson does a lot of that. And collaboration. You should know that somebody, I don't do a lot of the control temperature, control environment. I don't like it. I have a focus to feed mass people. Samson has a focus to use 1 acre to produce what I'm doing commercially. Bottom line, there's a space for everybody because Africa needs us and the whole world needs us. So bottom line is knowledge first. You need to serve, you need to understand, and everybody that is ahead of you has a problem. There's more opportunity coming to them that they can meet. So they're also looking for people to share with too. But it's people they trust that can run the model, that can produce the quality and the quantity, and when the consumer gets the product, it will last how long as the shelf life. So bottom line is you don't develop your capacity, which is knowledge, you are going nowhere in the space of 1 year. And one of the things this knowledge does is that you don't repeat mistakes. I can tell you this. The same mistake President Obasanjo made when he started in the Green Revolution, Feed the Nation. If you take a census, everybody here has made the same mistake. I made it. My dad made it. General Kennedy made it. We don't even write books. How many books do you see on agriculture? We're just coming up with it. So bottom line is that with the Feed Nigeria that we are trying to do now is to say, come, make mistakes on the job, but don't make fatal mistakes because you are in a community, like Michael said, that is helping along the way. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that answer. There you have it. Learning is key. It's one thing to be, with this generation, go online, think you can acquire everything online. With agriculture, you can't do that. There is a place for mentorship. You have to go for internships. You have to learn on the job. It's not it's not magic. You don't just throw resources at it and expect it to boom. They pay their dues to get to where they are. And that is the way it is for any other person. If you must succeed, you must pay your dues. Learn from mistakes of people that have gone ahead of you so you don't make the same mistakes. You get faster to where you are going, believe me, and you lose less. So, thank you very much. Now let's go to Dr. Bamidele.
Yeah.
Now, for you, the question about, let's see. Okay, the question about challenges new entrepreneurs face in the export business.
I didn't get it.
Challenges, common challenges young entrepreneurs face in agricultural business. What are the top
challenges?
Yes.
Okay. Let me thank Combine Capital for inviting me, and I would like to make a statement on this program. I want to beg Combine Capital to try to do an export program. How much is dollar now?
About.
Who are those saying
701 also was 704.
Do you know why?
We import more than we are a consuming nation, not an.
Just imagine a family in which the family have a savings of 500,000 and earn 70,000 a month. No, earn 50,000 a month, but spend 70,000 a month. While the savings of 500,000. Extra cost of how much every month? 20. So for how long will it take for the saving to be depleted? 25 months. So to ensure that it's not depleted, CBN is trying to conserve the foreign reserve. The pressure is still increasing on getting dollar importing. We are all suffering from it. I mean, we are all suffering from it, either directly or indirectly. I'm basically saying that we need to earn a lot of dollars. So why the production and all we talk about is extremely important. It's also important we don't just produce for local market. For the sake of Nigeria, for the sake of all of us, we need to do export, and we need to do it very aggressively. There are challenges in export. Export is a bit interesting. Doing business in Nigeria is already challenging, right? So adding export to it is like complicating the matter. No, sincerely, it's challenging, no doubt. But like African farmer said, knowledge creates light. If you know, it becomes easier for you to minimize your errors. I've also made a lot of mistakes. Luckily for me, I've put it in a book. I call it Build to Go Global. Basically showing reason why export business failed in Nigeria. I've been in the sector for almost 2 decades. And the challenges when you see someone exporting, when you have delays, you have defective goods or damaged goods or delay in payment, demurrage, discrepancy in document, they are all evidence of lack of preparation or readiness for the business. During COVID, businesses had issues, right? But in the same COVID, people were exporting. Some could not. When Apapa was having issue and you see the queue from Apapa down to Surulere, people were exporting. What's so painful about it is, like you said, when you get to the airport, you see the foreigner coming in. Of course, they're not coming to count bridges. They have better ones in their country. they can see opportunities that we are not seeing. So they are the one doing the export. So CBN recently, in the bid to encourage FX generation, started giving incentive to exporters. If you export today in Nigeria, for every dollar you bring in, CBN give you 65 naira. They share $3.5 billion in the first quarter. They share $20 billion in the second quarter. Guess who are those receiving it? Free money, oh. You export, you add value to the export, you have documentation, your bank, you fill the application form, request to your bank, and when CBN want to share the money, your bank submits your application, they add it together, and the governor approve, and they just credit you for exporting. Why are they doing that? So that we can, so if they do 3.5 in January to March, and it's 60 billion between March and June, what does that tell you? Before, people were not repatriating. When people export, they keep the money abroad, which is tantamount to money laundering, actually. But now, people are bringing it back because government is giving them incentive. Why is government giving them incentive? To encourage people to go into the sector. Why? So that we can have, because if we have a lot of FX in our foreign reserve, this rate will naturally reverse. The reason why it keeps going up, apart from the fact that the CBN also are doing some things that people are criticizing the economy. I'm not an economist, I'm a trade person. But I criticize some of those things. Is causing this. So there are challenges in the sector. To be able to face those challenges, my take is just to be ready. Now, and there are assessments you can do online to assess your level of readiness and be able to know, am I ready? What are the areas I need to fix? And then begin to work on that. And of course, meaning if I'm going to cover those gaps, I need to do a lot of capacity building. And I would recommend in going into export to minimize the challenges based on the question. Try to avoid exporting commodities. When you export commodity, you export job and import poverty. You're actually creating job for the country you're exporting to, and of course, importing poverty into Nigeria. Export value-added manufactured goods. So if you're exporting value-added manufactured goods, you won't be worried about quality most of the time, even though you have to do a lot on packaging. Now, when I talk about exporting value-added manufactured goods, I export pap. I don't have a factory. So you don't necessarily have to be the producer of what you are exporting. I have clients who have products in their brand name and they don't have a factory. Why? Because there are people who are looking for more market to sell. So if I tell them, look, produce this product for me in my brand, give them my packaging, they'll process it, and produce for me in my brand, and then I can export those kind of products. So there are so many products you can export in the agri space. In fact, our major mainstay as far as export is concerned is the agri space. But value add, and let me explain why I say value add. Look at cocoa, for example. The market size for cocoa is about, cocoa beans, about $9 billion. $9.5 billion total export size. Can you guess the market size for chocolate? Just one value chain in cocoa beans. Any guess? Just guess. Sir? Very close. Almost 30 billion. Who is making money? The farmers in Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana and Nigeria, or the Switzerland manufacturer, Netherlands manufacturer, German manufacturer, United Kingdom manufacturer of chocolate. Who is making money? The people adding value to it. And you can significantly reduce the challenge of exporting if you just add value to your product. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So, right now, what he's told us is that, see, value is the key. Whatever product it is, what value can you add to it is what you should be thinking about. That is really what will make your product stand out anyway. Secondly, you don't have to be at the roots, at the farms. The value chain is huge. You can function anywhere in it and earn money. There is free money in agriculture, according to, yeah, easy money, really. See, this generation is big on easy money, easy as everything. Right now, there is easy money in agriculture. So if you are looking at making money easy, the government is supporting. But then, how much do you call it the other? 65, me, I'm an Ijebu girl. So opportunity to make money, my antenna just goes up. 65 on every dollar. Please. This is where we should be looking at. Enough of saying there are no jobs in Nigeria. The agricultural sector is, just enormous with opportunities. I mean, we can sit down looking pretty, and they be making money. And say you are a farmer, the contemporary farmer, that is. Or don't you like the way they look? They are farmers. No longer the woman tying wrapper thing that, the thing has actually shifted. But we need to be conscious of it and then be willing to function in it. Like they both said, one, you need to learn. Learning is key. Because going into any industry with ignorance is recipe for, failure. This generation has to be willing to learn. It comes right down to it. And you learn from people that, have made enough mistakes to get it right. Nobody gets it right on the first try, really. But they have made enough, and they're here to tell you that, see, it's okay to try something out and fail, but you don't have to fail where others have failed ahead of you. You can learn from theirs, and then you have a head start and move faster than even they moved. We are all praying that, the next generation of farmers after them, will take things higher, we have a major share of the global economy when it comes to agriculture. And it's not just them that is going to take us there. It's you and I. We have to be willing, to take off from where, they will actually stop. But it starts now. Learning, be able to, receive what it is they have to share with us now. Going to any seminar would actually cost money. But you are getting this information free now. Let's maximize this. And then the resources, the keynote speaker said something about the Nourishing Africa. This is the first time I'm hearing of it. That there are actually resources out there. When I was in school, we didn't have things like that. I went to a University of Technology, and if you didn't make the cutoff mark for, any course, they dump you in Agric. That was dumping ground. So students were not even proud to say, they were in Agric department. But right now I'm rethinking that maybe I should have been dumped. And it will be easier for me to get into the industry now. But let's face reality. See, everybody has to eat. That is the number one, need in the world. You can't go wrong with investment in agriculture. Really. If nobody else eats, you must eat, your neighbors must eat. So that means that is an industry that, has, the lifespan is eternal, really. Until the last man dies on earth. Somebody must still eat. So we can't continue, crying, no jobs, no this, no that. Agriculture is wide open. You can start small, you can start medium, you can start, depending on where you find yourself. But have a mentor, have the right knowledge, so you don't waste resources just going in and you crash. And you think, this thing was not all it was, called out to be. Awareness is really very good. We need to be aware of what we have. Thank you very much. So now let's see our fourth question. Dr. Obamidele again. Yeah. Earlier we heard that, this keynote speaker spoke about vast opportunities in agriculture. In fact, I couldn't even catch up with them. There are so many. And I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, how come we have all this around us and we didn't have all this information? On social media, you readily have information about irrelevant things. And you find out that, this generation, they are kind of very quick to go for such. Why is it that we don't have that much information about all this, easily at our fingertips?
There are information. The challenge is, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? The street where you live, if you are to, as I'm asking you now, if I ask how many street, how many gates on your street are black?
I don't know that.
You know why you didn't know? You've never looked for it. You only find what you're looking for. So if you begin to think of agri, in searching online, you find people, places, event, and program about agri. You're looking for export, you find people, place, and event on export. So it's what you because you will be finding yourself going to those programs, and then you get to hear about it. I think the real challenge is the fact that what people are looking for online is not exactly what they need. It's not exactly, someone said that we are living in the most distracted generation, and that one of the emerging area of skill and expertise for the future is distraction management. That people are going to have to be skillful in helping people manage their distraction. Else, because the productivity has nosedived significantly, but on the same internet, there's so much information available. So I think the information are available because, for example, how many of you are aware of AFCFTA? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, wow. AFCFTA is African Continental Free Trade Agreement. There's an agreement among 54 African countries. Now, out of 54 have signed, have agreed to trade together duty-free to be able to ensure that we enjoy the benefit of our population. Just imagine that Africa, one population of 1.3 billion people. EU, population about 500 million people. World trade, $18 trillion. EU is controlling about $6 trillion. $6 trillion. About 33% of trade in the world. About 70% is intra-EU trade. Africa is 1.3 billion. Guess African contribution to trade in the world. Just guess. Just guess. Sir? Who said 7? That would have been lovely. Any other guess?
0.5.
Who said, no, it can't be 0 now. We're exporting now. Sir? You're very close.
Wow. That's
2.5. 2.5. The whole of Africa put together is not exported as much as UK, as much as Russia, as much as Italy. Africa is 1.3 billion people. EU is 500, but intra-African trade is less than 20%, about 16-17%. So with AFCFTA, now I mention AFCFTA for this reason. Now we have done seminars. If you are looking for how to enter at least 50 countries in Africa, there are information available online. That you need a 1-hour lecture on how I can enter Namibia, for example. Because AFCFTA has come here to help us to be able to trade together. But if you now want to do business in Africa, if you don't look for the information, you will not find it. So information are available. The challenge is people are not looking for it because probably not interested.
Wow. So there you hear it. The key thing is interest. Where does your interest lie? I think that's the question for this generation. Where does your interest lie? Is it in the distractions or in something that will actually add value, not only to this our generation, but to the next? All those internet surfing without value. If we can't feed this generation, we'll be out soon. It's as simple as that. So, like I said, what are you looking for online? What books are you reading? What is your interest? I think that is where we need to. I think individually, it's a mind shift that has to happen, really. We have to understand the importance of what this sector is to each and every one of us. We all eat. So why is it that we don't understand the simple context that if we don't have production, we are all going to be out soon enough? So it's that simple. It's not the designer goods and stuff that's going to keep us alive. It's the food. And on a daily basis, you can bet that the world population is increasing, exponentially. Food production is just arithmetic. So the more people we have in that sector, the better for all of us. It's a survival thing for us right now. If we have to survive, more of us have to go into the sector. Not necessarily holding the hoe and the cutlass, but, different sectors. The value chain is just enormous. Please, can you share with us, the top 3, there are quite a number of them. What are the top 3 products that, one can readily go into now and have a leverage on, and services as well? Top 3 each.
Food item generally, but particularly, I know of someone, a Nigerian in the UK, who import 4 containers of plantain chips from Costa Rica every month, a Nigerian. But for those of us that go on vacation, if you're in the UK next time, you will get to see. How many of you have seen Asiko, plantain chips? Okay. Nobody? Okay. Maybe you look for it the next time you find yourself in the UK. He's Nigerian. He's been in the UK for about 40 years. And he brings in 4 containers. He tried to do it in Nigeria, not our country, for what we do sometimes frustrating him. And he has to go to Costa Rica to get that, to bring that in. Processed cashew nut. Not the raw, process. Process means the one you see in supermarket, yes, in that form. Because the raw cashew nut, coming to value addition again, raw cashew nut is about $1,200 per metric ton, per 1,000 kg. Cashew kernel, that's removing the shell, moves the price as much as 8,000-9,000 per metric ton. The same cashew nut, but now you have removed the shell. By the time you roast it, you probably are hitting almost 20,000 per metric ton. Roast it and package it. So cashew nut, that's in the agri space. Dry fruit. Think of any dry fruit, from mango to pineapple to... So also you have fruit and nut mix. I saw something in the UK the other time. I had to buy it. I brought it to Nigeria. I stayed in my office for 1 year. It's packaged jollof rice and fried rice. Let me tell you what was painful about that food, that product. Packaged jollof rice and fried rice. In the front, come home to Nigeria. Come home to Nigeria in front. At the back, made in India. So obviously the people that made it, because Nigeria, you have millions of Nigerians in the UK, they are targeting Nigerians, and they wrote their come home to Nigeria, boldly written in front, but at the back, made in India. But so this rice will last for, at least it lasts for a year in my office. And I understand, which is why when someone says you study microbiology, you study biochemistry, you study data chemistry, and looking for jobs, sometimes I really cannot understand it. Maybe because of the space I am. In value addition, these are the people we need to help us. How do we keep this product in place for a year without adding additives, any chemical? I know of a woman that produced tomato mix in Ibadan. Tomato, pepper, habanero, pepper, tomato together. A mix that all you need, pour it, you just start. It's already blended together. And it will last for 18 months without preservatives. That's what our microbiologists should be helping us to achieve. But this is produced in Nigeria. But this particular jollof rice produced in India. So our regular food item, and let me talk about the japa. For me, I see japa as a positive for Nigeria if we take advantage of it. I'm talking from export perspective. You see those japa people? They are the people I want to work with to create market abroad. I'm serious. I'm looking for them. You are deciding, because look, they are assets for Nigeria, huge asset, both in creating market for export, but also helping Nigeria to secure market. African Farmer was talking about introducing our product. How would they get to know about our product? The only challenge I have with many people going is they don't think in this direction most of the time. Maybe a little orientation needs to be done for them to see that because when you look at the biggest businesses that are into export in Nigeria and in the world, they have presence on both sides. And most of the time, you see in UK, Asians are the ones selling our food. Go to Peckham, go to Dustin. Asians are the ones selling our food. The biggest warehouse, like times 3 or times 4 of this size in the UK, filled with African food sold by Asians. They form a synergy among themselves. Asians in Africa, Asians in Europe, America, they partner together to sell African food. We can do the same, working with some of our people that are Japai.
Thank you very much. So for those of you that want to japa, please, as you are japaing, package one of our food items that you can create market for us over there. Please, it's very, very essential. It's a global market. You can be our pioneers there for any product of your choice. I tried to do dodokiri some time ago, but that failed woefully. So, let's see. Africa Magic. Now, this question is about land for agriculture in Nigeria. Now, land is big business. Real estate is big business in Nigeria. And definitely in the land use zoning, there is land zoned for agriculture. But real estate right now is the big gainers. And a lot of those agricultural lands are being converted for real estate. Do you think the government is doing enough? Because agriculture, so to speak, has enough problems, to now add this of not having land. If you don't have land to actually practice agriculture in, then what are we talking about? So in a few years, if we don't check this trend, we won't even have a platform to be talking on.
Yeah, as we wrap up, with the land now, I would say this. I've been a farmer with the River Basin for 28 years. I've farmed in every region of this country using government lands. And I can tell you, lands, the least, government needs to engage me as a consultant to defend why they should not invest in agric again. Because the lands are there with irrigation facilities, with dams. Every state, Oyo State has 20 dam and reservoir put together. On Southwest is the most, because I'm on national television, Southwest is not embracing the opportunities. The lands are wasting. The dams are wasting. The East, the North is even underutilizing productivity. They produce so much, they don't process nothing. So bottom line is that there's land. Perish the thought that there's no land. When Nigeria was leading in cocoa, cola, oil palm, the land has not increased. In fact, the productivity has dropped. So what are we saying is, we need to go out there. I've put out a lot of information on how to access land. In fact, I'm going to be taking them up this week because some of them in Southwest increased land from 10,000 to 20, now to 40,000. The land that is not expanding. So bottom line is that, first thing first, please. Enough of us saying, having this mindset that government is against us. No, we are not embracing enough of what government has in stock. So the private sector, you and I, cannot talk about government. Let's utilize those lands. They are waiting. I can tell you this, there's a funding available in one of the banks, meant for 100,000 youths under 35. It has been lying fallow for about 3 years now. Only just 10,000 has taken advantage of it. May 12th, MasterCard also funded $27 million for youths also. The money is in town. The land is in town. The infrastructure is in town. With the Feed Nigeria now that we're doing, please, if you know anybody with abandoned land, abandoned tractor, abandoned anything, please let us know. I told the organizers that what is going to be different with this session, as in this event, we should have some accountability. We should be able to say from this event, come October, come November, come next year, we're able to get people who put on the platform the abandoned lands and co. that was converted to feed this number of people. That is what I would want. because we need to step up. And please, Feed Nigeria Now on Twitter and Instagram and co. from tomorrow. Please contribute. The religious bodies, Christian, Muslims, we are stakeholders, but we don't see ourselves as stakeholders. When we are doing outreach, we fund a lot in billions. In the churches, we do that a lot. In the mosque, we feed a lot. But we don't see ourselves as stakeholders. We are part of the people contributing to those exports and not, contributing locally. So let's do that together as we wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So there you have it. The government has the resources there. The point is, are we ready to maximize the resources available? Do we even know what these resources are? That goes to the first thing that was said here today. Get the right information. Learn about the industry. It's not going to just happen overnight. You need to put in the work. Thank you very much. So this panel, as I hope that, with the information that has been disseminated here today, that a lot, you've been able to get enough to start up with, hit the ground running. Are there any questions in the audience? For our online participants, please, let's have your questions on Slido. Okay, we have somebody here.
Good morning. Actually, I'm an agric student, but based on what we are taught in school, there are some process you have to go through before you can even plant. But based on the land, you can get a land to plant. For example, now you might decide to go into maize, and the location you get based on the land. And what we are taught in school then is that we have to do soil texture. That soil texture will determine what to plant on the farm. For example, now I want to plant yam, and I've already made inquiries on the yam, the knowledge, and everything. And the soil can plant the maize. Will I change the location, or I should replant? That's what I want to ask, based on the cost of the land and everything.
Okay, I guess this will be the last question for the panel.
Yes.
So bottom line, young man, you need knowledge. You need to acquire more knowledge. So right now, there's no crop you can plant almost on any land. There are lands that can only take care of trees. That's why you need soil structure. But generally, if you are planting corn, cassava, tomato, most lands will accommodate anything that grows in 1 year. You need knowledge. There's land everywhere that can do that. Now, on Monday, I can give you land in Ogun, Oyo, Oshun, even in Jigawa. I can tell you these things are available. You will all need to work together. And we are not charging money. Just drain us now. Nigeria needs you young guys, to drain us. So if you don't come after me and get land, and in October you come back to Covenant Capital and say, this was how I came in, and this is where I am now, it's your fault. Not Covenant Capital, not Nigeria, not the panelists, you. Thank you.
So I just, as we round out the panel, you will be our first test case, so please follow him as he leaves. So by October, we'll be able to say, okay, this is a success story. We tried it and it worked. So for every other question, please go on Twitter, Covenant Capital, and then the Agribusiness 2022, and drop your questions, and I'm sure you get a follow-up on it. Thank you very much for coming today.
Amazing conversation so far. Thank you, everyone, for staying and for listening. We hope businesses will emerge from this conference. I would like to remind us that there's a business clinic. As at the end of this session, you can visit the business clinic. If you are starting an agribusiness, we have consultants that you can talk to for free. We see that a lot of people have questions, but we cannot just take all the questions because I know some people have other events and engagements for today. So please don't forget to visit the business clinic at the end of this session. We also have a panel session next, which is our last panel session. Also, if you want to post on social media, please post your pictures, take clips, and use the hashtag Agribusiness Conference 2022. Hashtag Agribusiness Conference 2022 on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on any of your social media platform. And we are ready for the last panel session. So, he would introduce the next.
All right. So, I guess we might have been noticing the progression of the program today. We've talked about investments, the opportunities in agri value chain. We talk about potentials. We talk about upscaling your agri-business venture. And all this discussion will lead us to the final panel discussion we're about to have now, which is on food security and sustainable agriculture. And I was reading something online, just to say this before we go into that discussion. And it was talking about the food security in Nigeria. And it says, Nigeria is still characterized by the high reliance on food imports. Malnutrition is widespread in the entire country, and rural areas are especially vulnerable to chronic food shortages, malnutrition, unbalanced nutrition, erratic food supply, poor quality food, high food costs, and even total lack of food. I mean, if you are disturbed by this, then you know the importance of the next panel discussion talking about food security. And if food security is just about making this food available, and not just available, accessible to the people who need it. And much more than that, we also need to move from comparative advantage. We know we have a lot of potentials, and you can just practically drop anything on the ground in Nigeria and it will grow. But we need to move to that competitive advantage that will make us become more competitive. Then we begin to talk about the exports, which was part of what was discussed in this last panel. So to help in moderating that, I'm going to call on Jumoke Aleoke Malakai.
Please let's put our hands together for Jumoke. Welcome, Jumoke. We are moving from potential to action. So please welcome Jumoke.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. And I'm sure that we've been, gleaning a lot of insight so far in today's session. I'll be calling up on stage our panelists for this particular panel. And thank you so much for giving context to the discourse. I will call up Modupe Oyetosho. Modupe is an expert in commercial farming and agribusiness management. She is a practicing farmer with business credentials and the founder CEO of Anchor Smart Farm Limited, a commercial farm cultivating raw materials for food industries in Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us. Mudugbe has been featured on local and international news media, such as BBC, Fox News. She has won several awards in Rwanda, Dubai, and South Africa, and was recently awarded Youth Agripreneur of the Year by the Oyo State government. Well done. Thank you so much. In addition, we would have upstage Farmer Ogbole Samson. He is the team lead for Eupacia Place Limited, Soilless Farm Lab, where they use technology as an enabler for agriculture. They grow plants without the use of soil, ML and AI-based irrigation system for optimum yield and predictability of food production. Farmer Samson is a member of the Royal Court, Oni of the Ife Kingdom, and an awardee of Royal African Awards, a recognition of top 100 young Nigerians doing great things. And this was in 2021. Farmer Samson's creativity and entrepreneurial drive has had him featured on CNN's Africa Voices, BBC, BBC Yoruba, Reuters TV, DW, Channel CV, and many others. Thank you for joining us. You're welcome. So yes, the essence of this panel, like moderator said earlier, it's to talk about food security and sustainable agriculture. And I'll ask us a couple of questions, as well as take questions online. and we trust that we'll be able to do justice to this topic. But the objective of this panel is really to explore the realities around food security and to explore the opportunities for sustainable agriculture for enthusiasts and experts alike to glean insights from. Because I know that in this room, we have some people who are new in agriculture, and we have a lot of seasoned experts as well, just to keep the conversation going. So my first question, allow me to do ladies first. So my first question will be for Modupe. As an advocate of agri-tech, we live in a society where many farmers still struggle with using technology to aid agricultural practices. How can we leverage technological solutions to promote good agricultural practices and improve farm productivity? Please, you can use the mic.
Hello? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Covenant Partners, for inviting me. When it comes to technology in agriculture, I think we need to really understand the underlying challenges before we can even talk about solution. I was working as a software developer, and I remember then when I joined the company, I was one of the people that go to the customers who are developing softwares for microfinance banks at the time. They were just coming up. And when we get there, because you want to do another version, you have to understand, go to the operation. And they tell me, the balance, this thing is not there, but the balance, one thing, this one, I posted this. I'm like, I'm a software developer. I don't understand all these things you're talking about. And I realized that my bosses actually worked in the banking industry. They understand the operations. So they were able to come up with softwares. So I realized, okay, I have to understand the operation before I can say, okay, I want to come up with solution. So when I decided to go into agriculture, seeing the challenges, I was thinking, so let me go into agriculture to understand the layers of complexities under agriculture and then come up with solutions. My idea was going into agriculture was that, okay, let me develop softwares. And then I got to the industry and I realized that you can't even talk about softwares now. You can't go to a farmer who cannot even get enough productivity and say you want to give him software. What's he going to do with it? So I realized I had to now become a farmer, produce myself. I've seen the challenges. I said that, okay, this way out is for us to, increase productivity. And so behind my head was, how do we increase productivity? So I started farming, and it was about increasing capacity. So doing that, I'm able to now see the challenges, come up with innovation. Like Mrs. Ndidi said, what is done out there? Like, for example, there is a crop I wanted to do. We wanted to scale it up. We can't be doing it the way we are doing it. And I brought in the machine. Unfortunately, there's a little tweak that needs to be done. And then I sat down with it, and I'm like, I have to think about production. I have to think about marketing. Do I have to think about machinery again? Can't we have people who can come in and understand the things farmers are doing and come up with machines? So when we're talking about technology, it's not even about software alone. Yeah, my company now, we now have software that helps farmers because we have now created an existing operation, because technology is supposed to help you do things better or drive efficiency, right? So now we are able to we have created an operation that we have now replicated with farmers. We are now able to now use software to now improve on the operations. That's different. But when we talk about technology, it's not just about software alone. So we need people that will come in and say, you know what, we need small technologies that can help farmers to weed, that can help farmers to, okay, that's machinery I told you about now. Can we have people that will come in and say, okay, this is just how to tweak it and it will be good for us here. Farmers are using some seeds that they're not supposed to be using again. They just plant, and then can we have people who come in and bring in technology to improve on the seed? Do you understand? When tractor operators work on my farm, I'm always frustrated. There's what I want to get, but they don't get it. But do I have to understand tractor again to get this? And then until recently, I met a guy who studied agri-engineering and now focuses on tractor operations. He's not able, and I told him, I said, this is what you just have to do. I'm like, you see?
Makes your life easy.
Do you get? So we need technology when it comes to, there are simple things that we can do, simple technology that we can do to improve productivity. But then we need people to come in and say, you know what are the underlying problem that we can now come up with solution to. So technology cuts across, not just software, even in seeding, even in operations and many other things like that.
Interesting. Thank you so much for that. And I thought that before we continue, I should define food security just to give context to the discourse. And food security, according to Food and Agriculture Organization, is described as it exists when all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food, which meet their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. And so there are 5 key elements of food security: availability of food, access to food, utilization of food, stability, and malnutrition. And then I thought that, okay, so we're talking about food security and sustainable agriculture, because I'll go to my next question. And sustainable agriculture is really ensuring that food security is sustained. So that's to say that, how do we make sure we still continue to have food? And based on that, I'll go to my next question, Samson. So yes, the average Nigerian eats fast food or processed foods at least 5 times a week. And we know that eating these fast foods or processed foods is not very healthy. What advice can you give to this set of people to help them maintain a healthy eating lifestyle?
All right, thank you. Before advising on what to do to ensure you have a healthy eating lifestyle, let me start by saying, like African farmer and Mrs. Ndidi said, agriculture is not just about food production. Now, the reason why a lot of people get agriculture wrong is we think agriculture is an end. No, agriculture is a tool. So, for example, if my brother holding the camera decides I want to nail something and decides to use the camera to start hitting a nail, the nail will not go in. And he starts complaining, oh, this camera is bad. No, the camera is not bad. You are using it as a wrong tool. Now, agriculture as a tool has 3 functions. Unfortunately, these 3 functions are not interchangeable. You can either use it for 1, 2, or 3, but you can succeed so much in one, it comes across as though you are doing the 3, but you are just doing 1. Now, the first thing you can use agriculture for as a tool is to ensure food security for a nation, food supply. Number 2 is to generate income. They are not one and the same, I would explain. Number 3 is to create jobs. I'll give an example. For those of us that have access to IITA, there is a project back then in IITA called YIFSWA, Yam Improvement for Income and Food Security in West Africa. And in the project, they will make a statement: if you want to feed people, grow cassava. If you want to make money, grow yam. Interpretation: there is a crop for food, there is a crop for wealth. Now, if I want to feed people and I am growing yam, people will be hungry, but I am growing something. Because yam is for wealth, cassava is for food. To make this make sense, there are crops the developed nations will not fight you over in Africa to grow. Because these are not crops for wealth. These are crops for food. So you grow them. We will focus on the value addition. Why is it that every time we want to grow things like soya bean, we want to grow things like sweet corn, it's like you are fighting an uphill battle? These are crops for wealth. These are crops for wealth. But there are the crops you want to do. They're like, see, it doesn't matter. You can grow forever. It doesn't matter. You're not going to go anywhere with this. Now, when we understand that first, as a nation, we then need to ask ourselves, what do we want to use agriculture for? If we say we want to use agriculture for wealth, that will determine the kind of seed, the kind of technology, the kind of training we would undergo. So that it's not about everybody doing their thing. Now, when it comes to people eating, whether it is for health or for filling the stomach sick and all of that, the first question we need to answer is there food? Is the man that has food that has the power to decide whether it is healthy or not? I remember years back, I won't call the senator's name, when they brought in some imported contraband, I think chicken or something, and they said, oh, these chicken were bad, let's destroy them. And the senator said on national TV, why are you destroying food when there are hungry people around? The other way to look at this is, Dr. Bamidele is no longer here. I think he stepped out. He said, when you want to take things for export, they need to meet the quality. Interpretation, if they don't meet the quality, they can't go out. So they remain. For who? You and I. I'll give another example. When we grow tomatoes on the farm, there is no preservative. They can stay in your house for 2 months. Why? By default, any vegetable crop with proper cell membrane formation, proper cytoplasm and all of that is able to lock in water such that as it gets ripe through ethylene, it just loses moisture and shrink. We see that in chili pepper in your houses. You keep this pepper, they just shrink until they become tiny. But you buy your tomatoes every other day, in 3 days they've burst open. That is an indication that they are not healthy. Another way to look at that is you are told to take tomatoes because it helps in the body. We're giving you something called lycopene that prevents prostate cancer in men. You eat tomatoes every other day, yeah, prostate cancer is going up. What does that mean? It means that the produce are not healthy. But you cannot tell a farmer to produce healthy when it is not profitable. Because we need to balance this thing. The farmer's first role as far as is concerned is I need to survive. It is the man that has survived tomorrow that will think of whether you are healthy or not. So if our system of agriculture chokes wealth out of the farmer, then your health is not his priority. His survival is first. If that makes any sense. So before we start telling people, oh, eat healthy, when I picked my phone, I was trying to read some statistics out. In 2019 in Lagos State, Lagosians spent 890-something billion naira eating outside their homes. That is too much money to be spent out. That's like 2-something billion naira spent eating outside every day. And if you go to some of these hotels, like I ask people, I say, who would hold hotels accountable to say, show us your farmers? Tell us where your crops comes from. It starts from there. But before you can hold hotels responsible to say, show us your farmers, the question is, how many of us here know our farmers? How many of us know where our crops comes from? African Farmer made a statement. Today we have food on our shelf that the container, that means what they wrote on the container is healthier than what is in the container. They tell you it contains this, but that's not what is in the container. Worse off, they tell you jargons that don't make sense on the container. How many of these companies have you held responsible? Thank you.
Wow. I asked you a question and you have responded by asking all of us many more questions. You know, you're leaving us to reflect on these things, and really I'm taken aback. And these are questions that they beg for answers. And all of us have responsibilities. And to your point, we don't leave it just to the government. You and I have a role to play. And we better be doing our part. Or our children will ask us what happened. So we all have a responsibility. You and I seated here, and even the government at large. Thank you so much for that. But in addition to what you've said, I thought to, give you another question. And I hope that you would not give me too many questions this time. So there's a new wave in the world of agriculture. The agribusiness era, where we see technology playing a great role in the world of agriculture. So in this era, what does the government have to do? What's the role of farmers and middlemen, and even individuals in curbing food security? Government, farmers, middlemen, and individuals. What are our responsibilities in curbing food security?
All right, thank you. So I will start from the government. What is the role they have to play? Honestly, nothing. The reason is you cannot depend on people who have a tenure to determine your own life that doesn't have a tenure. You're waiting for somebody that probably will be there for 8 years to make policies for you that will be there forever. No. Now, 2, the government is a reflection of our incapacities. I'll explain that. Many people have said this over time that, they have this issue of Nigeria government goes abroad to bring in policies and want to implement. The reason is because the guys abroad have data. And those data they can follow to make policies. If you are a farmer, how many of you have data from your farm? How many of you have data that you say, okay, this is what I did in year 1, this was the result, whether it is good or bad, this is the result. I remember when I was still consulting for IITA, one of the things I loved and enjoyed most with IITA is it's not about whether the result is positive or negative. Apologies for our universities. where you want to write a project, you already know the answer, so you're just working your way to where you are meant to be. So it starts first from the farmers. Now, the farmers, so you want to plant a seed, you've planted seed A, rain fell. Yes, you say, oh, you do not have a rain gauge. Who says you need a rain gauge to know how much rain that fell? Just get an open container. Make sure the container is always the same size. Every time rain falls, let the rain from the sky directly fall in as raindrops. When you are done, measure it, write it somewhere. The day the sun is shining, take note. Okay, how far did my shadow go? Measure it with a ruler, write it somewhere. It gives you an idea. By next year, when you come back to that data, you now have something to say, okay, we've tried this worked, this did not work, this worked, this did not work. That is where we start from in trying to build something that will be resilient. To say, okay, fine, this is what we want to do. Number two is, I've heard a lot of people say that the problem with Nigerian farming or whatever space is the middlemen. No, the middlemen have never been our issue. The middleman is the small name we call the big guys called commodity traders. Thank God Dr. Bamidele is back. There is no econ traders. There are three major things they trade around the world. It is either agriculture, metal, or oil. This has always been the way it has been. If we go from time immemorial, from 18-something, the guys that used to control the world were the guys called the Seven Sisters. These guys were trading oil. People came in, broke their own organizations, brought in more things. When China started their whole revolution, they got their revolution from bringing in agricultural produce and bringing in a whole lot of metal. Check the movement of the world today. It is always one of these three. Either you are trading oil, you are trading agri, or you are trading metals. Now they are trying to bring in a fourth angle, which is data, if you can also trade data. Now, what is the role of the middlemen? The job of the middlemen is they need to take it to the next level of, can we bring these farmers in clusters? We are not just going to source from A, B, C, D in different areas. Let's get these guys together, put them in clusters, and you know that if I go to Nasarawa, everybody here is growing ginger for me. I go to Kaduna, these guys are growing garlic for me. Now, when you have that, because they are now a cooperative, you have a voice. With that voice, you can go to the banks and say, okay, fine, this is what these guys need. Let's get these guys this thing. Why? I am the person that would offtake this thing, so you have that voice. Now, because you are 1,000 people strong, 10,000 people strong, 20,000 people strong, politicians need people to win. So if the politician is going to make any statement, he needs to come to the middleman to say, I need 10,000 votes from this place. Now you can now say, this is what I need. I've watched all the politicians say all their whole talks. Nobody is talking about agriculture because what they are saying is you guys don't have a voice. If we had a voice, we would have a say. We would be on the table where discussions are being made. Every other person has been promised something except us. Why? They just believe, when they are hungry enough, they will keep quiet, we'll bring in things from them. Like I always tell Nigerians, see, this is the reality. In another 10, 20 years, ask yourself where you would rather be. Do you want to be a hungry free man or a well-fed slave? Because this is where we are heading to. Hungry free man simply means we are hungry, but we are free. Well-fed slave simply means that we are well-fed, but other nations are the one feeding us. There is one of the biggest lies I hear every time. They'll tell you, oh, Africa will feed the world. Africa will feed the world. They forget to tell you that they did not say Africans. Thank God African farmers said it. Today you have a lot of Asians coming into Nigeria to buy land. It means we are going to get to a time we'll be buying made in Nigeria rice from Asians. Buying made in Nigeria gari from Asians. Is that the world we want to live in?
You have asked many more questions. I'm getting used to this already. But thank you. Thank you for giving context to this conversation. And you have left us thinking yet again to say, how do we answer all of these questions? But I like that you have said everybody has a responsibility, even though you said government doesn't have any responsibility. Okay, I'm still trying to understand that. I am actually trying to understand it, just to give you context.
Yeah, so
why does government
does not have responsibility is this. I'm trying not to call names. My family is in Ogun State. For any major agricultural thing that needs to be done in Ogun State today, the state comes to my farm to use as an example. That gives me the power to tell them this is what I want. Because the day you don't give me what I want, my farm simply stops being available to you. And if it's not available, you cannot draw in more investment for other things. Now, if we have middlemen, we have big-time farmers doing the same thing across other sectors. Across other states. What that simply means is we have a voice, we have the power because they need the votes. So suddenly we have the power to dictate policies the way we want. But the issue is, if we are not together, then they are the ones with the power.
Okay, I hear you loud and clear. Something is saying we should. So I was saying that I hear you loud and clear. You're saying step up to these responsibilities, step up to the table. And when you have that control, you can coordinate, you can influence these policies, we can influence what government, what policies will be out there. And I really like that. So I think that's something to note for every single one of us. Let us step up. And then, of course, everything will be in our favor in the end. Okay, I have one more question for you, Mudupe, very quickly. And so I'm wondering that, is there any relationship between the rising import dependence and high prices of food, which has now led to food insecurity? And if yes, how can we manage our importation and exportation of food products to protect our food economy?
Of course, there is a relationship, and I'm just going to take one product because that's where that's the value chain I'm in. Now, in Nigeria, we all eat swallow, but the type of the swallow we are eating here is different from what is taken in the north. They use grains for their swallow over there. Here we use more of cassava and yam because that is what we have more of here. Now, let's talk about bread. Like I said, I just want to take one product. Bread is made from flour. Interestingly, if you go out now and ask people and say, what do you use for your bread? They tell you, I use flour. They don't know what that flour is made from. They just know they are using flour. A few years ago, the government made a policy and said, let's include 10% of high-quality cassava flour into the flour we are using, and then it did not work. Why? Because some people have benefited from importing. So everybody is crying now. The bakers are saying they're going to shut down, they're going to go on strike and everything like that. Now, the major problem was that the flour we are using for bread is made from wheat. In Nigeria, wheat can only grow in like 12 states out of the 36 states. Now, look at every other grain that we have. Cassava grows in almost the whole 36 states in Nigeria. Can we make flour from other things? Yes. Why are we not eating the flour, using the flour made from this to do the bread that we are eating? Why? Because, people will not accept it. We are spending about 3 billion on bread. I've not talked about pasta. I'm not talking about noodles, right? My company now produces cassava for Indomie. Now, Indomie is looking at using flour, cassava flour, to make Indomie. That's one area. Now, I'm not talking about bread alone because we are, as an association, we're having a discussion with the bakers. Why are we not using cassava flour? So we are importing all the flour that we are using now. 80% of it is imported. Dollar has gone high. Now we are complaining. I think even if we don't go into agriculture, can we start thinking of how do we eat made in Nigeria food? Why does it have to be flour made from wheat? Wheat does not grow here. It grows there. They've already worked on it. They improved on it. And that is why they made it into different things. Can we also work on that? Because it's bread. We can eat the bread. It doesn't have to be made from wheat flour. So now, if you focus on crops that are growing here, like, for example, rice also. If you're making rice, if you're doing local rice, and if you're able to just focus on eating that alone, and it's not even a question of quality. Interestingly, the world is talking about health. We're not even thinking about health now. Outside Nigeria, there's more this evolution now about eating gluten-free flour. The wheat flour we are eating, we have the whole flour, different types of flour. Now, what makes them different? The wheat flour even has different categories. What makes them different is the protein. Now, the more protein you have in the flour, the more gluten you have in it. Outside Nigeria, they're thinking of how do we stop this gluten-free, get more. So our flour has gotten to this level, has this certification that we even export. If you go to Amazon now, Google cassava flour, there is demand for our own flour. outside Nigeria because the quality is very good and is very, very nutritious. Now, can we adopt it in Nigeria that we now start eating cassava flour? Now, here's the statistics about it. If we are able to do just bread alone, that we are now saying we're using cassava, let's say cassava, because I'm in the value chain, so I promote cassava. Now, if we're using cassava flour to produce bread, we are going to be using about 800,000 hectares of land to produce that cassava. Directly, we'll be empowering about 300,000 farmers. Indirectly, we are creating jobs for 1 million people. We are crying about unemployment in Nigeria. So that means that if you focus and say, you know what, we're going to be eating flour made from bread made from local flour.
And it will still give me my yummy
the taste
toast.
is fantastic.
I can still make toast.
Federal government has spent so much on FIRO, and IIT, has spent so much on the research and everything. The quality is very good. And it's even better for us in terms of healthy, right? It's healthier, right? And all. But apart from that, look at the number of farmers. People, like 1 million people. Now, that is just bread.
Not to talk of...
By next week, there's going to be a factory that will be commissioned. They are processing sorbitol. Sorbitol is the raw material used for making toothpaste. The factory is going to be the first in Africa, second in the whole world, processing sorbitol from cassava. We import every African country imports sorbitol. So now, she's going to be, she alone, that factory alone, is going to be buying about 2 billion naira worth of cassava. Do you know the ripple effect that is going to be having?
Wow.
Not only are we going to be now using that product, and you were talking about African trade, and that means we can even be processing this and selling within ourselves. Now, agriculture is the only thing I see that can get to the grassroots. So for every improvement, for every time we stop importation and focus on local consumption, it gets to the grassroots because the effect spirals back to the farmers.
Impressive. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. And for people who are joining us online, remember that you can share your questions via slido.com so that we can take your questions. And I have one question from there, and this is for farmer Samson Ogbole. So this says that what is the starting ground for a person with non-farming background who is interested in soilless farming? So maybe you want to just share that with us.
Okay, thank you very much. So let me start by saying, one, I did not study Agric in the university.
Okay.
So if I can do Agric, any other person can do Agric. What is the starting ground? Learn. You need to intern. I cannot go online and study online and come out and become a medical doctor. Don't see agriculture as just throwing a seed in the ground and it comes out. That's not Agric. Agric is much more than that. So learn. And when I say learn, what do I want you to learn? In secondary school, the subject was called agricultural science, which means there is a science to this thing. The level of science that you practice will determine your results. The reason why most of our farmers are poor, it's not because they are not doing a lot, but because the science that they are applying is hoes and cutlass. So they are getting the result of hoe and cutlass. So the wealth that they are generating is in the era of hoe and cutlass. But when you bring that wealth to today, they are behind. So the first thing is get the knowledge. Understand the relevant science for today. Then understand the relevant science of your reality. How do I mean? So the relevant science for today could be robots, AI, ML, which makes sense. But is that the reality of where you are? So where you are may not need robots. Where you are may just need a farm tiller. Go for the farm tiller. That is number one. Number two is understand the business of agriculture. So first, understand the science. Number two, understand the business. You cannot come into agriculture and you do not understand the principles that governs money. Because this is a discussion around money. Yes, it is called agriculture. You are farming and tilling and all of that. But much more than that, it's about money. Understand the business. Understand the business. Very important. Now, once you've understood that, stay under somebody and learn. don't be too quick to graduate. Number 3 is, while you are in your place of learning, do the work. Now, let me explain what I mean by do the work. I thank God we are in a church. Now, one of the best stories that people like is the story of grace to grace. And one of the best stories of grace to grace in the Bible is that of David. This guy was anointed in the wilderness, that he was going to become the king, and he became the king. But the part that people forget is the anointing did not take him to the throne. It was where he was playing flute. Who was he playing flute for? He was playing flute for animals that cannot say well done. So if he did not play it well, nobody will introduce him to the king. So he would not hear about the war that would make him qualify to, that would make him think, oh, maybe I can even fight this thing. So he was doing what he had to do well on one part of playing the flute. Number 2, when the bears came to attack his animal, this was just one animal. I mean, he's the youngest child. He could have said, let the animal die. I'll go and tell daddy. He fought for that animal. So there is this thing of, sorry, I'm taking time, but I need to say this for the younger guys. There is this thing of, you have work to do, but you think work is punishment. When you study the Bible, work came before, what's the word? Work came before sin. God said multiply, replenish, and all of that before man sinned. So work is God's design. And the Bible says that he who does not work should not eat. Interpretation, he who does not work should die. So what qualifies you to live is you are working. So in the place where you are interning, work. There is nothing that annoys me more than you hear a corper tell you something like, I'm a corper, so? Or what do you do for a living? I'm a student. No, you cannot live for it as a student. Have something doing. You want to fly abroad. The guys abroad have work. They are students and yet they work. But you are just studenting full time. I mean.
Okay. I think that deserves a round of applause. Thank you so much for the context and sharing your wealth of knowledge with us. So I have one last question for Samson. And it says, you are a preacher of the if food is right, then hunger is a crime. But with the extravagant hike in the prices, many more families are not able to maintain a healthy feeding lifestyle, with some even living in hunger. This is a very big problem. And as a farmer, what do you think can be best done to control this hike? Because we know that, a lot of factors are playing here.
What can we do to control the food hike? Number 1 is, some of us have access to spaces in the front of our houses or something. One of the major reasons why there was no obvious food insecurity in the past is not because there was no hunger in town, but because everybody grew something, regardless of how little it was. You have space. What are you growing? It starts from you. Number 2, if we check your dustbin today, how much food is going to waste through you? Because it's not enough to point the fingers to other people. First, take responsibility of your own environment. What can you grow? We are not saying grow cocoa, but grow one small vegetable. You go to some houses, they're like, there is hunger in town, you are growing flowers. Why? Who are you trying to impress? Grow something first. Number 2 is, we then need to look at reducing food waste. Number 3 is stop food discrimination. You say there is no food, but yet you are saying the tomato looks somehow. You yourself, how you look. We need to start being honest. Like, stop this discrimination. Take food like this is food. Then, number 4, like she has said, we need to start eating local. One of the major reasons why food is expensive is you people. I'm sorry, I'm not in Lagos. It's you people in Lagos. You need your food to be packaged, this, that, polished, this. See, you need to realize the reality of us farmers. We do not have funds for some of this equipment you need to make your food look good. But understand that this food is healthy. That's the bottom line. You take, for example, the person wants to get ugu that is fresh from the farm, all standing. But you know that our cars do not have ACs to bring this ugu. It comes to you looking dead. But if you pour water, it will come up. You are like, no, I need it to stand. If it is going to stand, then be ready to pay for it.
Because I live in Lagos, and maybe these are some comments I've made before, I'm not happy about what Farmer Samson is saying, but really, these conversations can't end here. The conversations will keep going, and we're encouraged to, tweet, share some of your questions that you still have, and we'll take this, conversation forward. Use the hashtag Agribusiness Conference 2022. And thank you so much, Modupe. Thank you, Farmer Samson, for coming. And for all the amazing speakers we've also had and panelists. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
gradually coming to the end of this conversation. Thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate that you stayed, and we know that you've been able to gain a lot of knowledge, I'm sure some people already have actionable strategies. So I'm particularly excited. All these sessions, all the panel sessions have been fantastic, even the keynote address. And what do you have to say?
Yeah, I mean, we've learned quite a lot. And talking about learning, one of the few key points I took out of this panel was the fact that Farmer Sampson spoke about learning. Even if she didn't study agriculture in school, it can be learned. And Modukwe spoke about using what we have to get what we want. I mean, we're talking about the price of bread going up here, and we're still clamoring for wheat, while the people that develop wheat are looking for the cassava that we have. I mean, think about that. So to help us round off the session, we'll call on African farmer Mogaji to just do the rounding off for us. Okay. Thank you very much.
Sessions, thank you very much.
Thank you. First and first, I would like to say a huge thank you to Covenant Capital for the consistency over the years. Covenant Capital has been at the forefront of this for many years. So we want to say a big thank you, because I spoke here 2015, and yesterday somebody still reminded me of what I said in 2015, taking a walk. So, just to encourage that what you're doing is going on and leaves after you. I want to, say one or two things for the people who are here and you who are watching or rewatching this. Out of every adversity comes a greater or equal opportunity, provided we can find it. That's Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. For the adversity that Nigeria has, it's an opportunity for you and I to step in, make money, and become exceedingly great. We've heard about production. We've heard about funding. We've heard about the opportunities. It's not the hearer, but the doer. There's a place for you and myself as a service provider, as a brand specialist, as a salesperson, as an accountant, as an architect. There's farm architecture. There's farm accounting. There's engineering. There's no value chain that you cannot come into the agri sector. And so this conference this year is not just for you to attend or to rewatch. It's to ask you a question. How are you going to leverage out of Nigeria's adversity? The biggest tomato farm in Southwest is owned by an Indian. A majority of foreigners are coming in. Between Ogun and Ore is mostly owned by foreigners now. Foreigners are seeing opportunity. We are saving money. Can we work together as a community? Please rewatch this as many times as possible and allow inspiration to come into your heart. And when you get the inspiration, please do something. You will make more money feeding Nigerians. China developed by Sorry about that. China developed by focusing inward. South Africa developed by focusing inward. Nigeria will develop by focusing inward first. The scarcity globally with food is Nigeria's opportunity to take a place in the global place. And we have the youths. We have you. You are all professionals. You need to just find a way now, this year, to get in. As we celebrate independence this coming month, 2 months from now, please get something and connect. You don't have to start. You can scale. You can be a referral. You can market on your phone. Somebody needs food on your street. During COVID, we learned, but we unlearned what we learned. Because we were looking for how to get food, but we were getting the food. People were distributing the food. People were selling in unusual ways. But now we've abandoned it, and people are still looking for it. Don't let us wait for another pandemic for us to be running helter-skelter. Again, we'll say a big thank you to Covenant Capital. And please go online, whatever you've learned, your takeaway points, please put it on the social media handles, because you just never can tell. It might be what you post that will be inspiration for somebody to do something. A big thank you. Hope to see you next year with testimonials to show what you have done. Thank you so much. God bless.
No farmer, no future. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, everyone. I particularly think that you are our VVIPs. Like, you stayed, you listened, it was important to you, and we just want to say a very big thank you to you. So I think you should clap for yourselves, right? No, you have to give yourself some thunder. It's drizzling. It's drizzling. It's raining. It's raining. Thunder. 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 Give it to yourself. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. You can still use the hashtag Agribusiness Conference 2022. We still have the business clinic. So at the end of this session, as we're coming to an end, you can visit the business clinic and talk to them about your business you want to start, about the agribusiness. We also have the farmers market outside. I'm excited about that because you have fresh and healthy foods from the farm and you are buying at farm price. So please just stroll there and you can buy food for the house, buy food for the family, or buy food for somebody. Give somebody a gift of healthy food. And thank you so much. Ibrahim, how has it been so far?
It's been great. I mean, for me, yeah, it's been great. I mean, for me, we've learned quite a lot. There's been a lot of gems that's been dropped here as words. I mean, we're practically sitting on a gold mine in this country. And if we just open our eyes and open our hearts and get to work, I guess we can be that self-sufficient. That thing we're seeking for outside is actually right here with us. So, in closing, and to give the vote of thanks, I'd like to call on Mr. Fisayo to DM me.
Okay, please, let's put our hands together for him. Ibrahim, it's been nice working with you so far, and we've come to the end of this event.
Thank you.